On, we commemorate him as the country drafts another historical step. Today is the last day for anyone who wishes to challenge the IEBC chairperson's declaration, that is Monday last week, that accorded Deputy President William Ruto the title President-elect. Ruto was Monday declared the President-elect with 50.49% of the total votes cast against his closest rival, Raila Odinga, who got 48.85%. Azimio's mission to build a case against the win begins today before 2 p.m. The petition to the Supreme Court is set to challenge that win. We'll be looking at that and we'll be airing that process live right here on TV 47. And therefore, we welcome you to be part and parcel of this conversation this morning as we also engage a specialist as pertaining to what is likely to play out in the political scene. Welcome on board. This is Morning Cafe. Also later, we'll be getting into the world of health and we engage Dr. Ignatius Kibe for a very comprehensive conversation as pertaining to just getting to understand the formation of a child up to the point of life. So karibu sana as we want you to be part and parcel of us. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV 47 KE. Also special coverage of this election hearing period as of course the events continue to unfold. It's good to have you. My name is Linda Alela. Karibu sana. I hope that you had a great weekend and indeed looking forward to greatness for the week. As always, we take a look at the papers, we get into the conversation, and most importantly as well, take a look at what our team has prepared in terms of news, and we'll be doing all this and so much more as we long to hear from you. The dailies this morning, the fading legacy of Jomo Kenyatta, as I have started by saying, historic moment, but then again questions linger as to whether indeed his legacy is still on. This as the family has maintained that maybe this should not be a moment that is celebrated by the country, but a special moment and a private moment for them. Will that water down what was his legacy? Will that water down his memories to the people of Kenya? And as Kenya marks about 44 years since the death of the founding president, that is Jomo Kenyatta, it will be the second time in a row when then there will be no public events as had been the tradition. And so we'll be looking at this just to look at the times of Kenyatta Senior and the coming in of Kenyatta Junior and what is left of this special and prominent family right here in the country. Also another story, it is their hands, or it's in their hands right now. We're talking about the Supreme Court that is on decision 2022, and the big legal face-off begins today as Azimio One Kenya Alliance constitutionally will be presenting their bid, that is to petition Deputy President William Ruto's win. And this is according to what the Constitution dictates, that within 7 days such should be presented. Today is the last day for that, and therefore we seek to see what are some of the things that they seek to highlight that would guarantee them a win or would get to a point where these elections then are nullified. And according to them, they have watertight evidence as to the fact that, you know, the process of election and especially the presidential one wasn't well orchestrated. And so we'll be looking at that as we look at these 7 faces that are supposed to listen to this, and hands left to the Chief Justice Martha Koome for the final declaration within 14 days. That is as per the Constitution. And then we get to know whether this is a case that will be null and void ab initio, or this then would take us to a rerun. Family of drowned Kenyan nurse starts a Go Fund campaign. Well, the distraught family of Helen Wendy, the Kenyan nurse seen on a Facebook Live video droning while swimming in Canada, is now appealing to well-wishers to help them bring her body back home as her brother and boyfriend speak of their last conversations with her. A story captured on page 3. Quite unfortunate, and getting Kenyans to that point of mourning. May her soul, rest in eternal peace, as we also join hands to help the family to bring Helen back home. Away from it, Kalonzo reinvents himself as a giant's fall. This is pertaining to his win in terms of, reaffirming his position as the kingpin of the Ukambani region, and conversations are here as to whether then he'll shift gears to the Kenya Kwanza team in the event that the Supreme Court will affirm that position of Chebukati, and of course the IEBC declaring Deputy President William Ruto as the president-elect, or he will maintain his position at the side of Azimio One Kenya Alliance. Yesterday he says that he is been here long enough, unfortunately, has never seen a scenario where the will of the people has been shortchanged by the very same, overseers of the election, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and therefore he, alongside the people, that is the entire team of Azimio One Kenya Alliance, would be out there to make sure that justice for the people of Kenya is met. Those are the key stories as captured on the Monday's edition of the Daily Nation. The Standard newspaper, Raila versus Chebukati. This is what we'll be looking at. Azimio team believes it was a waterweight case to prove election was not free and fair, and that the Supreme Court judges should overturn Chebukati's declaration. So we'll be looking at this just to try and unpack, get to see the legal minds and brains that will be engaged by the Azimio side, the IEBC, as well as the Kenya Kwanza team, the faces, some of them right here. And so we'll be looking to unpack this as we await the beginning of the case. Also, Uhuru walks a tightrope on transition, and with the president having taken an active role, that is in the question of politics and campaigns during this electioneering period, well, then Kenyans are watching to see how he will hand over power should the courts endorse his deputies win. This has captured right here and expounded on page 12 and 13 what will be the transition like. And so we'll be having this conversation as we continue in the world of sports. So much happening as well. We'll be right here to make sure that you are up to tabs. Those are the key stories as captured by the papers this morning. And so we shift gears a bit and get to look at what my team has prepared. Police officers in Embu County have launched investigations that is into the death of a 37-year-old woman identified as Nancy Njoki, who is suspected to have died by suicide. Detectives from Kenyatta police station will be keen to unravel the mystery behind the death, since Njoki was found naked and hanging with a kanga in their rented house at Kangethia village.
Police officers in Embu County have launched investigation into the death of a 37-year-old woman identified as Nancy Njoki, who is suspected to have died by suicide. Her husband, Murimi Karonja, has already been arrested and is currently in a police custody to shed more lights on the incident.
Mke wa miaka 35 alipatikana amejinyonga kutumia leso. Mama huyo aliishi na mzee wake kwa nyumba moja, just a single room. Na sasa akapatikana amejinyonga, amejitia kitanzi. Haijaeleweka ni kwa nini huko upande wa Kibugu pale Kangethia. Na kisa hicho ni ya kusikitisha kwa sababu hatujui ni kwa nini huyu mama akiwa na mumewe hangeeleza hata shida yake kwa mumewe, amueleze mumewe ni nini iko shida.
Embu North Deputy County Commissioner William Owino said police had taken up the matter and investigation was underway.
Unapoongea na wenzako, uongee na majirani, uongee na marafiki, uongee pamoja na maafisi zetu, maafisa wetu, tunaweza kusaidiana na wewe ili upate mashauri ambayo yanaweza kuzuia wewe kuchukua hatua ya kujipeleka na kujiua ama kwa kujinyonga. Mwezi huu peke yake tumeona visa kama 3 hivi ambavyo wananchi wanazichukua maisha yao, wanajitia kitanzi na sababu ambazo hawaelezi ni kwa nini.
Police officers have transferred the body to Embu Level 5 Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary, where a post-mortem will be conducted.
Now, the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya warns the election losers in the recently concluded general election to accept poll results instead of keeping the country in an anxious mood. The Federation Chairperson, Bishop Samuel insisted that Kenyans must now be allowed to heal and continue with their economic activities after many months of heated political campaigns.
Candidate wetu wa kanisa. Wale wengine waliuza sera zao tukasisikia. Tulikuwa na Wajakoya, kuna kile alikuwa nasema atatuletea. Kuna mwingine alikuweko kama Raila, kuna kile alikuwa nasema, na kuna mwingine ambaye ni Mwaura wa Ihige, na pia kuna William Ruto. Yeye ni kiongozi sasa, amechaguliwa, basi tumuombee na pia tuombee nchi yetu ya Kenya iwe na amani. Ningeomba kwa sababu kila wakati wa uchaguzi tunakuwa na shida nyingi sana wakati huo, biashara na nini, na bado hatuja recover kutoka COVID. Niseme ya kwamba ingewezekana basi anaweza akatulia sasa. Hiyo kesi hatuitaki, maana tunataka kuendelea mbele na kiongozi ambaye tumemchagua.
Ilikuwa ni ombi letu kuwa na uchaguzi wa amani. Hatutaki kurudi kwa siasa. Tunaombea wale ambao wamechaguliwa waendelee na kutufanyia kazi. Tunaombea nchi hii ikiwezekana wasiende kotini, kwa sababu aliyeshinda ameshinda. Tugoje miaka ingine 5 na ninajua Mungu atatubariki.
Amani katika Kenya yetu itapatikana tukiwa na uwiano kama kongamano, kwa sababu serikali yetu ya Kenya ambayo inaongozwa na Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta ilikubali kuwa serikali ya kidemokrasia, na demokrasia ni kutumia utaratibu ule umewekwa na katiba yetu kipande kwa kingine, ndio tuweze kupata tamati ya maendeleo ya eneo.
Now, with the country having concluded its general election, Caroline Wanjiku Muriithi has emerged as the only female MCA in Kirinyaga County, representing Karumaindi Ward in Geshugu constituency, after garnering a total of 4,834 votes, trouncing 11 other candidates, 9 of them men. Now, Caroline's political journey began in 2006 when she was nominated as councillor by Azimio's Martha Karua under the NAK Kenya Party. She then contested for the Karumaindi's MCA seat in 2013 but lost, which prompted her to go back to her cereal business. The mother of 4 then contested for the same seat in 2017 but lost. She, however, served at the Assembly as nominated MCA. Wanjiku says her journey through politics and her recent win will serve as an inspiration to women never to give up and to stay persistent.
Sasa mwaka wa 2006 na introduciwa kwa siasa na Mheshimiwa Martha Karua. Nikaingia katika chama cha NAK Kenya, tukafanya kazi na Martha Karua. Nikapewa nomination mara ya kwanza mwaka wa 2007, nikatumikia Kirinyaga kama diwani. Alafu mwaka wa 2013 nikasimama kiti ya MCA Karumande Ward. Sikufaulu, kura hazikutosha. Kwa hivyo nikaenda nyumbani nikafungua store ya cereals, nikafanya kazi miaka 5. Mnamo mwaka wa 2017 bado nikasimama kiti katika ward ya Karumande, bado kura hazikutosha, lakini nilikuwa tu na kiu ya kutumikia watu wangu wa Karumande, kwa sababu hizo terms 2 nilitumikia kama mbunge mteule. Nilikuwa naona ile services zenye watu wa Karumande wanahitaji hazikuwa zinafikiana kabisa. Kwa hivyo nikaendelea kukua na hiyo hamu ya kufanyia kazi wananchi wangu wa Karumande. To women who have contested and lost, I want to encourage them that Mswahili alisema kuvujika kwa mwiko sio mwisho wa kusonga ugali. Kwa hivyo kama mtu aliomba kiti na akaanguka, you don't just give up, you don't quit.
All the best to her. Now, political and religious leaders across the country have urged Kenyans to maintain peace and to resume their normal economic activities after many months of heated political campaigns. Machakos Senator-elect Agnes Kavindu has further appealed to Kenyans at large to remain calm as they wait for the court's intervention in the just concluded general election.
Calls for peace have been intensified by both political and religious leaders across the country, with many urging Kenyans to embrace peace and unity. Machakos Senator-elect Agnes Kavindu further appealed to Kenyans to remain calm as they wait for the court's intervention in the just concluded general election.
Naomba Wakenya wote tuwe watulivu na tungojee haki itendeke. Maana hii kesi ikipelekwa kotini, najua koti itaamua na mshindi ataamuliwa ni nani. Na Kenya itaendelea mbele kwa sababu lazima tusonge mbele.
Speaking after a church service in Machakos town, the senator-elect, who will be serving the people of Machakos for a second term, thanked the voters for turning up in large numbers on the day of election to practice their democratic right.
Watu wa Machakos, narudi tena kuwashukuru sana sana kwa kura nyingi mlionipigia. Nami ninawaahidi nitawafanyia kazi bila upendeleo. Wale wamenichagua na wale hawakunichagua, wote nitawafanyia kazi, maana mimi ni senator wa wote. Ninawaita hata wale tulikuwa tukishindana nao wakuje tushikane pamoja tuendeleshe Machakos yetu mbele.
At the same time, the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya wants election losers in the recently concluded election to accept polls to allow Kenyans to continue with their economic activities after months of heated political campaigns.
Ilikuwa ni ombi letu kuwa na uchaguzi wa amani. Hatutaki kurudi kwa siasa. Tunaombea wale ambao wamechaguliwa waendelee na kutufanyia kazi. Tunaombea nchi hii ikiwezekana wasiende kotini, kwa sababu aliyeshinda ameshinda. Tugoje miaka ingine 5. Na ninajua Mungu atatubariki.
This as Azimio One Kenya Coalition Monday is expected to file a petition challenging the outcome of the August 9 general election. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
And as leaders in Kakamega wait to participate in the postponed Kakamega gubernatorial elections, the county's woman representative Elsie Muhanda has condemned the division showcased by the IEBC commissioners during the announcing of the presidential election results. Speaking after a Sunday church service in Shangani constituency, Elsie Muhanda has asked the Media Council of Kenya to regulate content posted on the various social media platforms, as negative content has brought about unrest and fear. Elsie Muhanda further asked citizens to choose a suitable governor who is willing to work with the recently elected Kakamega leaders.
Kakamega is a distinct government. Kenya has 48 governments. Si mnajua hivyo? Hiyo ya juu ni moja, alafu tuko na 47. Kwa hivyo Mungu atusaidie, hiyo siku ikifika tuchague kiongozi mwema. Sisi tukichukua governor mwenye hatafanya na hao 48 MCAs hatutapata maendeleo. Wacha tusidanganyane. Kenya iko mara mbili. Mmeona hizo kura za Ruto, mmeona kura za Raila. Tunaomba Mungu atupatie amani kwa Kenya. Ama namna gani? Si namna hivyo? Kwa hivyo tukienda kwa makanisa mbalimbali huko, tukirudi tuombee amani ya Kenya.
Hivyo mimi nasema Media Council vile walikuwa wanasema mbeleni, waangalie mambo yenye watu wanaweka mitandaoni, waangalie kabisa, kwa maana imeanza kuleta hofu. Na pia mambo ya mtandao, kuna wale wanaongea ile maneno yenye haiko, yenye inaleta chuki zaidi. Kwa hivyo hapa Kenya mimi naomba tuangalie mambo ya mtandao.
A section of religious leaders from Kitui County have requested Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to have a handshake with President-elect William Ruto and forget about the past differences they have had. Now, the clergy, led by Bishop Ezekiel Muendo of Kingly Seasoned Missionary Churches, reiterated that the Kamba community has been in opposition for a long time, and this is the high time Kalonzo unites with Ruto for the Kamba community to benefit from the Kenya Kwanza government. The religious leaders pointed out that the political season that was marred with insults, blackmail and deceit is over, and thus the political leaders should leave their political differences to ensure that the country moves forward in terms of development.
Raisi wa 5 wa Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, ya kwamba ukiapishwa, kumbuka umetembea pamoja na wachungaji, na katikati ya wachungaji wana uwezo wa kuongoza katika board tofauti, asa katika Ukambani. Wale wengine uko na wao, ukiongeza Ukambani mwaka wa 2027, kura za Ukambani zote zitakuwa kwako. Lakini tunataka kuona tumeingia kwa serikali, kuna board ulizo nazo ama ziko kwa serikali, tunaweza kuserve katika board. Kuna wengine wamesoma wachungaji, wanaweza kuingia kama ma PS wengine kama ma-CAS, wengine kama ma-CS, na hata wengine wanaweza kuwa mabalonzi. Tafadhali, kuna uwezekano tufanye. Ukichukua wanasiasa, hata wachungaji wanaweza kusaidia katika serikali yako.
This time, tafadhali, musikumbali watu wetu, especially Wakamba, wawe katika opposition again. Hatuna maji, viongozi wetu. Hatuna chakula, kuna njaa. Watu wenu wanajaa. Watu wenu hawana maji. Kuna watu wetu wanateseka. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba tafadhali, na especially kiongozi wetu tunayempenda Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, tafadhali, kwa jina la Yesu, wewe ni mcha Mungu na wewe ni mtu unasikia Mungu. Tunakuomba kwa sababu unasikia Mungu, uende kwa mwelekeo wa Mungu. Tupeleke kwa serikali. Tupeleke kwa serikali.
And Kilifi Governor-elect Gideon Mung'aro has met with the Malindi business community to strategize a move to revamp the dwindling tourism economy within the area. According to Mung'aro, Kilifi's economy is still struggling, and therefore the county government needs to come up with a rapid initiative in collaboration with the business community to reinvent the economy. Speaking in Malindi after a successful meeting with the community, the governor said he was set to begin working to quickly change the economy in his first 100 days in office after being sworn in come next week Thursday.
Mimi katika kampeni yangu na manifesto umeona kwamba tumesema tutahusisha wafanyaji biashara ili tufufue uchumi wetu. Na hakuna wakati wa kupoteza. Hata kama sijaapishwa, tumesema tuanze kuzungumza. Na kwanza kuwashukuru kwa sababu hao kwa mbali ya kwa wafanya biashara pia ni wapigaji kura. Kwa hivyo niliwashukuru kwa kazi ile nzuri iliyofanyika Malindi, na tumeanza kuongea mikakati ya kufufua uchumi wa Malindi hii. So hii mikutano ya wafanyabiashara itakuwa mingi, si Malindi peke yake, itakuwa watu wa Kilifi, watu wa Mtwapa, tutakuwa na kongamano la wafanyabiashara wote wa county. Lakini tumeanza tu na hii moja, na kwa sababu wale wafanyabiashara wengine hasa wa mahoteli hapa wako pia ambao wanamiliki hoteli, lakini hivi karibuni pia tutakuwa na wale wa kigeni, wawekezaji wa kigeni, kwa sababu tunajua kabla tutangamane na grupu zote, tunataka kusikia kila sehemu ya wafanyabiashara yale yanayowakumba, maoni yao, alafu baadaye tutakuwa na kongamano la pamoja ili kuweza kujadili mwelekeo wa kaunti yetu.
With focus now shifting to the Supreme Court, where Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga is expected to file a petition today, his supporters have been urged to remain calm and maintain peace during the court exercise. Raila announced he will head to the court after the announcement of presidential final tally, where Deputy President William Ruto was declared the winner.
With a 7 days deadline to file a presidential election petition, the Azimio la Umoja is expected to file a petition on Monday against the IEBC in protest of the results announced by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's chairman, Wafula Chebukati, where Deputy President William Ruto was declared the president-elect. At the backdrop of this, local leaders drawn from Kibera, at the heart of Nairobi, organized a peace meeting in the area known as Raila's Stronghold, urging the residents to remain calm.
As our case shall be petitioned at the Supreme Court, we remain calm. But what you need to know, we don't have peace in our hearts, but we are just calm as we wait for justice and truth.
The leaders also called for peace, urging the locals to be patient when the case to be presented by Raila will be heard and determined.
Hatutaki watu wanaleta incitement. Tunataka peace, peace, peace. Tukue na amani, na hiyo amani inakuja tu na haki. Amani inakuja na haki. Baba the fifth. Amani inakuja na haki.
Odinga's supporters, however, were quick to point out the expectations once the Azimio team heads to the Supreme Court to contest the presidential results in the hope that justice will prevail.
Safari ya Kanaan si rahisi. Kuna milima, kuna mabonde na yoyote. Tumekuja Kibra kusema kwamba kesho baba akiingia kotini tunaenda na yeye, na akitoka kotini tunatoka na ushindi.
So tomorrow, as Baba's case is going to be petitioned at the Supreme Court, We are urging for truth and justice. We know what happened, and if you have evidence, give it out so that it can help.
If a petition is then filed at the Supreme Court, it will be heard by a bench of 7 judges. The 7-judge bench comprises of Chief Justice Martha Koome, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, Justice Mohamed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Njoki Ndongo, Isaac Lenaola, and William Ouko. 3 of the 7 judges nullified President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election in 2017. Moige William, TV 47.
And as he prepares to defend his win at the Supreme Court, President-elect William Ruto was in President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard Sunday as he attended his first Thanksgiving service at Gathiroini PCEA Church in Githunguri. And as Mike Agwongo reports, Ruto said he opted to have his first Thanksgiving church service in Kiambu because it was the county where he garnered the most of votes.
The first Sunday after being declared president-elect, William Ruto's Thanksgiving journey took off in Gathiroini Githunguri constituency in Kiambu County. Flanked by Kenya Kwanza brigade including his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, Ruto worshipped with the congregation and thanked them for the overwhelming support that he received, which propelled him to victory.
I truly appreciate that the people of Mount Kenya have taken me as one of their sons. They've stood by me through thick and thin, and they have changed the politics of our country and buried ethnicity in the governance of Kenya.
Mumepatia jamii ya Mlima Kenya ya kwamba sisi si walagai, sisi si waongo, sisi si conmen na fraudsters, sisi ni wangwana na ni Wakristo na ni watu ya kuweka ahadi. Watu wangu wa mlima, asanteni, asanteni, asanteni sana.
Ruto said he opted to have his first Thanksgiving church service in Kiambu because it was the county where he garnered the most votes.
Kwa sababu hapa Kiambu ndio tulipata kura nyingi katika county ya Kiambu kuliko county zote katika taifa letu la Kenya. So kama kuna Jerusalem ni hapa. Hapa ndio Jerusalem, ndio tunaanza na hapa Jerusalem.
According to the official presidential results announced by IEBC last Monday, the UDA candidate got a total of 606,429 votes out of the 1.2 million registered voters in Kiambu County. In comparison, he got 272,868 votes out of 506,317 registered voters in his backyard, who was in Geshu County.
Watu wa Kiambu mumetengeneza historia ya kwamba nimepata kura nyingi hapa Kiambu kuliko hata kura katika county yangu ya Uasin Gishu. Mnaona miujiza ya Mungu.
While championing inclusivity in his regime, Ruto has also said that his regime will finish all pending projects before initiating new ones.
Najua kuna miradi nyingi karibu ya shilingi bilioni 500 ambazo zimekwama. Tayari tuko na mpango ya vile ya kuzikwamua ili tuweze kukamilisha ile miradi yote ya barabara, maji, stima na zile zingine.
Ukishaapishwa, ukishaingia kwa ofisi, ufanye mpango na wale ambaye utateua wakusaidie hizi project zote ambaye zilikuwa hapa ziendelee, vijana wapate kazi, ndio tuweze kusonga.
His victory is historic in many ways and has sent shockwaves across Kenya and beyond. This was his first and only attempt at the country's topmost political seat, and he won against veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga, who has since disputed the outcome of the poll.
Waliotupigia kura wajue kura yao ni ya maana sana kwetu. Nataka niwaambie wale hawakutupigia kura ya kwamba hii serikali tunatengeneza ni serikali ya Wakenya wote na wao hawatawachwa nyuma.
A seemingly buoyant Ruto described the election as a departure from the past, where people voted on the basis of ethnicity, as opposed to what those offering themselves for leadership stood for.
Tumesema sisi tunaweka ahadi, tukisema tutafanya tunafanya. Na Your Excellency, hii safari yako mpaka mwaka wa 2027 mpaka 2032 tunasimama na wewe.
Our President Uhuru Kenyatta, allow yourself and your system of those in government today to accept the will of God and the will of the Kenyan people.
In his speech, the president-elect also lauded the Mount Kenya region for overwhelmingly voting for his favor, as well as the clergy for keeping him in prayers, pledging to fulfill their promises.
The then Deputy President William Ruto never shied away from invoking the name of God in his campaigns. Not a single Sunday passed where he was not part of a religious congregation like this. He became a favorite of many pastors. This paid off as most of them persuaded their flock to rally behind his candidature to become the 5th president of this republic. Mike Kagwango, TV 47 at Gadhiroini, Githongori constituency in Kiambu County.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is expected to formally file its petition at the Supreme Court today, setting the stage for a legal showdown with IEBC and their Kenya Kwanza rivals. And the Azimio side will be led by lawyers Paul Mwangi, James Orengo, Amos Wako and Otiende Amolo, while Kenya Kwanza will be led by senior counsels Fred Ngatia, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and Professor Kithure Kindiki, among others. IEBC and Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati legal team will be led by former Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai. This as Apollo Kamau reports.
Just like in the 2013 and 2017 general election, Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga will once again dispute the outcome of the 2022 presidential vote when his legal team files a petition challenging President-elect William Ruto's victory on Monday. Odinga, who spoke during a church service in Donholm, Nairobi County, flanked by fellow Azimio leaders, says he has a watertight case against IEBC.
There will be no justice until truth is known. And truth is going to be known because we already know it ourselves, and we are going to show it wide and open starting tomorrow.
If there will be court processes, we will engage in those and make sure that because we are Democrats and we believe in the rule of law.
Odinga's legal team of experienced senior lawyers drawn from previous petitions in court will be led by senior counsels Paul Mwangi, James Orengo, Otiende Amolo, Amos Wako, and Firoz Noroji, among others, who will face off with Chebukati and the IEBC legal team, to be led by former Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai, while Kenya Kwanza's legal team will be led by Professor Kithure Kindiki, Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, and Fred Ngatia.
Na wale tulifanya uchaguzi tukawa na maswali na sheria imeturuhusu maswali twayaipeleka kotini kwa mahakama kuu.
Trying to coerce, trying to blackmail, trying to intimidate, but the spirit of the great people of Kenya shall not be muzzled.
The process of arriving at the election outcome, just like in the 2017 petition, forms the basis of Azimio's petition, from voting to the eventual transmission of election results. Odinga says a fallout among IEBC commissioners affected the final tally of the results after 4 of the commissioners disowned Chebukati's results, saying they were kept in the dark. Kenya Kwanza, however, maintains that the commissioners were holding brief for President Uhuru Kenyatta and Odinga, with Chebukati stating they wanted him to declare a rerun.
So these people were single-handedly picked by Uhuru and Raila to execute the exact mission they have done. That they have gone aside and tried to, claim ignorance over figures that they've read. Those commissioners read close to 80%. 256 were read by the same commissioners. It's only the remaining 34 that they didn't read. Are they also arguing that they were reading results that they were not aware of.
Odinga will also be asking the court to annul Deputy President William Ruto's victory, alleging an abnormal turnout of voters for the presidential vote compared to the lower seats. Also on the spot to convince the 7-judge bench that will sit at the Milimani Law Courts, a departure from the traditional Supreme Court venue, will be the universal access to election forms 34A, B and C in the IEBC public portal, which the Azimio legal team claims could have been manipulated.
Wewe mkuu wa IEBC, sababu hiyo ni maono yako si ya IEBC, fungulia wana Kenya wale hawajamaliza uchaguzi wafanye nini? Wamalize.
The integrity of the 2022 voters register will also be a matter of focus in court, with Azimio expected to challenge the results on the basis the register was manipulated, which led to the suspension of 3 IEBC staff by Chebukati for illegal transfer of voters in July. According to the Supreme Court, Azimio la Umoja should file their petition by Monday's 2 p.m. deadline. Apol Kamau, TV47.
It was all celebrations at Moti Wamai village in Gatundu North, Kiambu County, after a man and his wife clocked 102 and 108 years respectively. Here now are some of their secrets of living a long and happy life.
At the heart of Mutiwamai village in Gatundu North, Kiambu County, a special occasion was going on. A celebration in honor of a man and wife who have handheld for at least 80 years and are now 103 and 108 years respectively. The couple's old faces could not hide their joy as they held hands through Holy Mass in the event put together by their children and their grandchildren, together with the church who made sure it was a blissful moment filled with pomp and color. But what is the special secret to a long life?
Sisi wale wamezaliwa na huyu mzee hatukuiga akikuja nyumbani jioni akiwa mlevi, hatukukutana naye baba yetu akitukanana matusi maovu. Kwa hivyo sisi tukaiga mfano mzuri, na ndio tunasema ya kwanza mzazi anapoishi maisha mabaya ni funzo kwa watoto anaozaa.
They say they also owe it to their God who gave them the wisdom to follow the path of the favored and to pass down their secrets to their children.
Biblia inasema mzazi ni Mungu wako wa pili. Unafaa uelewe kwa maana bona mzazi anaitwa Mungu wako wa pili, sababu wewe unajua yule Mungu aliye mbinguni na anakulinda na anakuzuia, lakini kuna mzazi ambaye anaweza kukurani na anaweza kukubariki upate baraka.
The 2022 general election had a number of surprises where the little-known candidates in the Civic seat race beat the incumbent candidates who were deemed stronger due to their financial muscle. However, the latter were eventually beaten at the ballot by the underdogs. Such cases were recorded in Kiego, Antobuchoi and Elementaita wards in Meru and Nakuru counties respectively.
Eliud Chege is a newcomer in the political space. He gave his first shot at the member of County Assembly in Maimahiu ward and he clinched the seat. Before being elected, Chege was a sand harvester.
Mimi nimekuwa katika sekta ya wachimbaji mchanga kuanzia mwaka wa 2013 mpaka juzi wakati tulipofika wakati ya kwamba siasa zimefika na tukaona zile shida tunapitia. Tukaona ni vizuri ya kwamba sisi kama watu wa mchanga, kwa sababu watu wa media najua mara mingi mmetuona na tumechukuliwa Maimahiu, barabara zimefungwa wakililia haki zao, na wakati ikafika tukasema ya kwamba imefika mwisho na tutakaa tena kama hatuko kwa serikali ati haki yetu tutaiona tu wakati tutaandamana kwa barabara.
Chege beat the incumbent Stephen Ngethe who was defending his seat. Chege says he decided to vie for the political seat so that he can address challenges sand harvesters in Nakuru County go through.
Na siku kumekuwa na tumefungua mahali tunachota mchanga, nao vijana wengi wakaandamana sana na walipigwa na polisi, wengine wakauliwa na wengine wakabaki na majeraha kubwa. Hakuna mkono yote ya serikali tuone ya kutusaidia. Na nilipokaa na wao chini nikawaambia imefika mwisho na hakuna siku nyingine tutaandamana kwa barabara tukitafuta haki yetu. Ndiposa tukaongea kwa pamoja, tukakubaliana ya kwamba mimi nitasimama, ndio niyo ninawakilisha ya kwamba hakuna siku nyingine watatokea kwa barabara kwa shida. Kwa hivyo safari yetu ya siasa imeanza tu kutokana na shida zetu, kutosikilizwa.
But his journey has not been easy.
Nilikuwa nafikiria mtu akianza siasa labda serikali ama chama ndio itakusaidia kule. Kumbe ni chama itakudaisha pesa. Nilikuwa naita hao vijana, nikiwaambia nimelemewa, wanakusanya, huyu anapata 20, huyu anapata 50, huyu anapata 100, tunaunganisha. Hii safari sijaiweza peke yangu. Hao vijana ndio wamenishika 100 kwa 100.
His former colleagues have faith in his leadership.
Si tukimchagua tuliagree na yeye ataweza kutudishia hizo magari zetu zinalipishwa sesi pande ya Kajiado na zimechota mchanga saidi yetu ya Nakuru County.
Tuliweza kungangana tukapitia milima na mabode hadi akapita. Sasa tunatarajia mambo mengi kutoka kwake.
Like Chege, a number of first-time political candidates have clinched seats, beating the incumbents in the 2022 general election. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Interesting piece on the political scene by Sharon. It is now time that we take a short break. We come back with more and the gentlemen that joined me this morning to decipher on the political situation, so don't go far.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Agriculture in Kenya dominates Kenya's economy, and because of this, we crisscross the country in search of farm details. From making our natural products like kombucha.
We have 15 different varieties or flavors of kombucha. So we have around 7 which we call herbal teas.
To learning about planting one of the rarest nuts.
I wanted to buy 10 trees. Those guys told me that 10 trees are too few because macadamia is one of the rarest nuts in the world.
As we learn all this and more, catch up with Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Tea, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
Welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well you know what's happening around you. Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Access every Wednesday at 10.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Science laboratory and health records, applied biology, environmental health science, nutrition and dietetics, ICT, counseling psychology, and many more. Enroll with us today and take a certificate or diploma course. Visit our campuses in Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay and get your career going.
Are you set? We're good?
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. Farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday. And Feel Good Friday. With amazing DJs, celebs.
Waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
And music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties...
Conversation bit, the gentlemen who are joining me, I'll be introducing in a bit. Remember, it's all about the political scene, what is playing out at this very historic day where the Azimio One Kenya Alliance then present their petition papers to the Supreme Court challenging that declaration by Wafula Chebukati Monday that accorded Deputy President William Ruto the title President-elect. Will that suffice, or then we will need to take the country to another process of election? The gentlemen will help me decipher on this as we await for this very day and this very moment that will be streaming live, and also waiting for that session, 14 days that the Supreme Court then will focus on deliberating on this very matter for us to get to know what way forward. The Chairperson of Pan African Forum, Dr. David Matsanga, joins me this morning, as well as management leadership and governance expert, that is Mheshimiwa Phillip Kisia, and virtually we'll be having Dr. Justus Juma, who is the party leader of Justice and Freedom Party. The gentlemen who joined me in studio this morning, I get to introduce almost immediately as we get into the conversation. Asanteni sana for creating time. And karibu. Yes, Dr. Justus, good morning. All right, we get a hold of Justice in a bit. But yes, here we are. First of all, to commemorate the fact that the country today celebrates 44 years upon, after the demise of the founding father. Historic moment. But questions linger as to whether indeed his legacy is, well felt and celebrated, or will continue to do so, especially as the family got to a point where they declared that this should not be a national moment of celebration, but they choose to make it, private. Years down, 44 years down, anything to think about the founding father of this nation? Or is this going down and being swept down the carpet as we continue?
Thank you. First of all, let me kickstart as an editor, and my good brother is here. It is a very memorable day for me. Why? It is the same day I was in a container being transported to go to Tanzania in 1978. And the container dropped us around that roundabout near the university, so that we can find our contact, the recruiting agent, to take us to Arusha, Namanga, Arusha, Moshi. It's a great day for me. Then when they were doing the ceremony, the burial, I said I will wait and see. Young man, very slender, not like this. This has put on weight. It's a memorable day for me. 44 years. I can't believe it today. When I was coming to the studio, I noticed it is the same day. And Intercontinental had just been opened. Very fresh. I found Kirubi was the general manager there of Kenyatta. There was Kenyatta there with Mercedes. And I can't tell you the contact. The contact is still alive. He's an elderly man who was recruiting us to go and fight Idi Amin under the auspices of the state. And the rest is history. But the most important thing that I want to say is the legacy of Jomo Kenyatta is still on. He laid a foundation for this nation. He fought for democracy not only in Kenya, but he fought for democracy across Africa and in other parts of the third world. That is very, very important. People might think the legacy is gone. The headlines say, is it fading? Fading to go where? It hasn't faded. It is actually coming on the right day that a petition, the countries in the world do petitions. Do you do a petition in Tanzania?
No.
No. So there is a legacy.
So that's democratically
exactly. Kenya has moved. What you tell me you do a petition in Uganda and you come out with your good shoe, one shoe left inside and the other one outside, and the shirt is torn. That's the type of petition we do in Africa. But Kenya is doing a petition in a civilized manner. And I want to thank Kenyans this time. The painful theft of this vote, people have sat down and reflected. And in reflection, they say in Africa that the eyes of the bereaved, you see better when there are tears in the eyes.
Yeah.
But when there are no tears in the eyes, Linda, you can't see the person.
That's true.
This is the time you see friends. Azimio la Umoja has seen friends now. Who are the friends? Who can stand with Uhuru Kenyatta? Who can stand with Raila Odinga? And Raila Odinga has cooled his supporters. It's a great day. And the democracy, the foundation laid by Jomo Kenyatta, is the foundation we have built on by Moi, the foundation that was built on by Musalia Mudavadi, the foundation that has been built. I can see His Excellency Dr. William Ruto turning down, saying, I will rebuild. I will continue with rebuilding what President Uhuru Kenyatta has done to complete exactly. Then during campaign, there was a different message. But that is very good. You know, people reflect. And the reflection has been fantastic. And it's a great day for us as we commemorate the founding father. There is a petition at 2 p.m. That will be delivered by Azimio.
Perhaps earlier, but 2 p.m. should be the deadline.
About that time.
Yes.
Some of us had written our amicus curiae ready. I changed the amicus curiae to enjoin. I want to enjoin technically the Azimio group.
Okay.
To give the technical, 14 days. It's very short. No judge will fly to Bucharest.
Yes.
No judge will fly to Athens.
There might not be time for retirement.
Yes, no judge will fly to Abuja.
Okay.
No judge will go to Philippines, Manila, where machines created chaos. So
therefore the case should be quite watertight.
Yes. So we have come in, we've given, I have withdrawn from Amicus Curiae. I will make my statement.
All right.
And I will allow the Kenyan lawyers to be helped technically.
And we'll get into the intrigues of that,
yes.
Dr. Matsanga. But before then, let's allow as well Phillip Kisia make his submissions as pertaining to the founding father of the nation, as we appreciate and commemorate his contribution to this, like the Kenneth Kaundas, the Nyereres, and the Patrice Lumumbas, the Sankaras. Do we, with the same vigor and appreciation, commemorate our founding father?
Let me first of all welcome back my brother from TZ.
Oh yes, last time he wasn't here with us.
He wasn't here last.
Yeah.
He joined us virtually.
Yeah.
We missed him.
Why are you remembering some technicality?
The same way you're also remembering the events of 1978.
There must be East African integration.
Yes.
And preparing for new offices to operate in the region. So Tanga is very important. You know very well I'm a transporter.
Yes.
And I have my trucks that now carry some goods all the way from Rwanda and Burundi.
Yeah.
So I had to go and
So let me join my brother, Dr. Matsanga, in celebrating the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. When Mzee Jomo Kenyatta died, I think I was about 14, or thereabout. And I remember people in Western Province, where I come from, claiming ownership. They said, we didn't know that all this time, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta was our son. For the first time, I think Kenyans heard of a word in Swahili referring to Mzee as Hayati.
Oh.
Hayati.
So
the people in Western said, all this time we've been robbed of our son.
It's called Hayati
Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. They had not heard of such a word before.
So they thought it's his other name.
Yeah, so they said, okay, this is our son, but anyway, people from Central Province took away our son. And though we didn't benefit as much, but that is our son. So when Uhuru Kenyatta took over, some of us expected that because his father belonged to us, he would have done more than he has done for Western Kenya.
Yeah.
But anyway, we still appreciate what he has done. So I remember Mzee very fondly. He's very charismatic, a Pan-Africanist. Somebody you cannot just wish away. So even you journalists, you need to do a better job sometimes.
Instead of saying that the legacy,
the legacy is fading. If I can remember him, as if he was there yesterday, and you people in journalism saying that his legacy is fading away.
They're asking.
I think you are lazy. Media fellows, most of you are lazy. You don't research. You just want things to fly in very easily.
So is it because we used to get into that moment of celebration every time?
No, you are used to getting things easily.
And today it's a whole different thing.
No, things easily. You don't research.
Is it?
Yes, and I can take you on
I'll
that
play the
later.
devil's advocate and say that's
I can take you on that one later.
Okay.
But for the time being, let us celebrate this Mzee.
Yeah.
And I do agree with Dr. Matsanga that this is a man who laid a very strong foundation. Because if the foundation that Mzee Jomo Kenyatta had laid was on sand, this country would be in ashes right now. We would not be having a country called Kenya.
Yep.
So we're enjoying the fruits of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta and the others who fought for their first liberation. There are many, Tom Mboya, Bilder Kagia, and there are many. And you people in journalism, of course, have that detail.
Right.
So let us celebrate these people. You know, sometimes the generation that we have, maybe even include myself, may not appreciate the pain that the freedom fighters went through to liberate Africa, to liberate Kenya. And I think it's important for you people in the media space to keep on reminding us that the freedom you're enjoying currently, that blood was shed. It didn't come for free. You know, it was a struggle, real struggle. Not like the struggles we're having right now. The struggles we're having right now are too soft. Yeah? And I know, really, I don't know even, I don't really think we should be calling them struggles. So let us celebrate our people. Let us celebrate Mzee and those who have been there before us for the peace that we're enjoying, for the tranquility we're enjoying. And I can tell you, without fear of contradiction, that if we had kept on the same trajectory, you remember the cabinet that was there during it. You may not remember because you're not even, I don't think you're even the mix. You know, some of us,
at least I read.
Some of us were just being born.
Yeah.
Okay. If we had continued the same trajectory, where people really were servant leaders, where people got into public space to serve, not to enrich themselves through corruption, Kenya would be ahead of Singapore. But because after those liberators, the Wazirs took off, and we came into the 80s and 90s, we got into the man eats man society. Yeah? That you get into public office not to serve, but to enrich yourself.
Yeah.
And that is why those who are in public office right now, if you ask them, if you ask those people who have been elected, I think 290 of them, and you ask them, and governors, why exactly are you coming into this space? They will not be able to explain to you. They will just hide under, we are coming to serve people. But when you take an audit after 5 years, it's only theft that you can see. So whatever our founding fathers are, may you rest in peace. And thank you for giving us Africa. Thank you for giving us this great country called Kenya. And I hope we shall protect this country for posterity. We are leaving this one on loan. It is not our country. This country belongs to the future generations.
Right.
God bless Kenya.
God bless Kenya, but this then would be the question. Do you suppose wherever it is that they are happy, you know, for the progress, for the growth of the nations? And when I say they are, I am looking at all the forefathers of Africa, the ones that I've mentioned and many others that really fought, you know, to make sure that Africa is liberated.
I can tell you, it is not as easy. I can see them smiling with one side of the face, because we have, as Africa, we have made strides economically. You know, something to celebrate about. We would have done better, but we've done something. Because Africa should be where Singapore is.
Yep.
But we really cannot, you know, cry over spilled milk. Something has been achieved.
Okay.
But there's been political injustices, social injustices, and I can tell you they're turning in their graves. The level of tribalism, particularly in Kenya, is something that needs to be brought to check. The issue of corruption, stealing of public funds without blinking an eye. Our forefathers, I'm telling you, are crying, not tears, but they're shedding blood.
Wow.
They shed blood for us to attain this independence. They are shedding blood, seeing how public resources are being plundered, how political manipulations are going on. We have something to do, and I am ready and willing to join people of goodwill who want to leave this country better than we found. We must bequeath this country to the future generations better than we found it. So I'm hoping that those who are listening and of my age are ready. to
put
take
up
up
the fight.
the mantle.
All right. Well, and Dr. Justus Juma joins us virtually. Doctor, I know you read wide, and I know you've been following up on the history of this nation and Africa at large. And I also understand that you're amongst the few who are determined to make the change that Phillip Kisia speaks of. Any element of hope as we look at the fight that our forefathers put up, you know, how we have advanced over time and where we're headed?
Good morning, Linda, and good morning, gentlemen. Nice to have you back. Dr. Matsanga, I thought you left when you had your friend joined us. And it's brave to be back. And as I told you, feel free in Kenya. We are here to protect the freedom that we've earned through difficulty that you're stating and the celebration that you are observing. And I agree with you, today is an interesting day. I know it's a day when the petitioners against the 2022 August general election are handing in their petition to Supreme Court, which is actually a landmark and very historical in the process of attaining electoral justice. Because, yes, leader, we've remained vigilant and focused regarding the vision and the future that Kenya should have. Because I believe Kenya is capable of being second to none in the global community, if not equal. But for us to get to those levels, there are certain principles that cannot be compromised. Because the foundation of citizens' sovereignty is protected by democracy that they delegate, through which they donate their sovereign power to democratically established institutions. And it is these institutions that our Constitution has protected and have set up various mechanisms for check and balances and even various arms of government for them to function effectively for posterity and for the good of Kenyan citizens, as my brother Phillip Kisia is putting it. And this cannot be attained if we have individuals who are growing or becoming bigger than the institutions. The moment individuals are becoming greater than the institutions, I think that's what political scientists will call populist and or personist. And this normally is a big danger to economic development, because the moment institutions or systems are not functioning, then definitely we will not have effective economic environment. And the major reason or idea giving out or donating power to various democratically elected institutions is so that we may have efficient economic growth. And our constitution envisages that the populace, after every 5 years, should be allowed to review every performance of individuals who occupied the government institutions and audit them and scrutinize them through accountability, then elect their preferred choices. Unfortunately, this process has not come without challenges. And I know even today political parties are actually having serious challenge regarding the Political Parties Act and the laws. I saw parties belonging to various political affiliation or coalition, which is provided for in the Constitution, because the Constitution provides for how parties can place or how parties can form government. And there are protections of those initiatives, because the moment you join a coalition, there are exiting clause, and there is also discipline and behaviors on how to behave within the coalition. But I'm so surprised that even before the dust settles, I'm already seeing the political prostitution, which to me violate the vision we are having regarding our democratic aspirations.
Yeah.
Because when you are entering into a coalition, a political party or a leader of a political party must understand the guiding principles, the code of conduct, and the coalition bylaws. And if it's happening right now, even before the is sworn in, I think to me is sending a serious message regarding the nature and the type of the National Assembly we are going to have.
True to it.
We were expected to have a little bit of growth and maturity in the National Assembly for purpose of effective oversight. But as it has begun, I think Kenyans, we are faced with serious questions that we must answer regarding the choice of the national or the legislators whom we endured or whom we elected. And I think as oversights and individuals who are working on keeping the process on check, we have a lot of work ahead.
All right.
And we are looking forward to and make it happen.
And so let's bring ourselves back to the events of the election, but most importantly, look at what it is that Justus Juma brings to the fore. One of the things that we had set to discuss this morning as pertaining to the clandestine operation. I wouldn't want to call it clandestine as such, but Deputy President William Ruto's form of operation, and especially at this very moment when he has been declared president-elect, we all understand that this heads to the Supreme Court and anything can happen. But even before it gets to that point, he comes out as a very courageous person, almost certain that he has this and has pocketed this, and the events of the weekend of him trying to woo various elected leaders to his camp, successfully for that matter. We have seen independent out of about 12 of them, 10 already crossing to the Kenya Kwanza side. We have seen the UDM team also joining into this other side. And I mean, these are the questions that we ask. And what it is that Justice speaks of, what is the understanding, what is the background understanding of, formations of coalitions and what it takes to cross over to the other side, to defect to the other side? Do they put such into consideration? What does this speak of the parliament that we're going to have?
First of all, we told you. Some of us here told you, I said it, that there is no independent person in this.
That's true.
I said it here, actually around here.
Yes.
2, I said, our politics has not, Ruto is very shrewd in politics.
Why do you argue that?
And shrewdness is not, in a sense, not that good shrewdness.
Neither is it that bad one.
Negative shrewdness. He is not yet sworn into power. The MPs are not yet sworn into. They are not members of parliament until they take the oath. And immediately he has embarked on, you are saying, raiding. The word we should use is raid. He's raided there.
Some of them have reached out. Some of them have
not reached out.
Shown the interest.
No,
without...
it's not reaching out. If someone comes and says, your money, you spend how much? 80 million.
Dr. Matsanga, you see, that's what you told us.
I have a friend.
And let us not be...
Can I tell you the truth? You don't... Let me tell you, I have an MP. Do you want me?
Yes, tell us.
If he gives me permission now, I name him here. I name him here.
But Dr. Matsanga, I am coming to this point.
He comes and says, my dear, all these MPs from Northeastern, one of them is my friend. We were on the same aircraft flying, going to Tanzania. He had been raided. It's not wood, raided. Then he told me that, David, this guy is shrewd. I'm using the same words. They came and asked, how much? You spend 50 million, 40 million. It is available. Tomorrow, denounce Raila Odinga. This is not a lie.
But Dr. Matsanga,
And
you have
today-
told me on this very same set before, and you told me the biggest, assignment for you back then and members of Azimio was to deliver the presidency. Anything in terms of representation you will fix. How best could you have fixed it if it is not this?
Who to fix how? How can you fix somebody who is hungry?
It is as simple as yes.
This MP, wait, these guys are hungry. They have spent 60 billion Kenya shillings. And then a man comes.
Is it not how politics is played, Dr.
No, it's
Matsanga?
not politics. Which type? This is the cheapest type of politics. And Ruto has shown.
I'd love to understand.
He has shown the true colors. That those who were condemning Matsanga, that I was telling you, you are going to see this guy.
Is it
Let him
Ruto or
settle.
the people who accept to be bought? If at all they were bought.
Both of them are evil.
Phillip Kisia. Let's allow Phillip.
Let me tell you, let me finish. If you don't follow the law, you are also a lawbreaker.
Wait a minute. Phillip Kisia.
You are bribed, you are told 40 million, come to my party, and you know the regulations, the clauses in the party, when you should leave. The Political Parties Act is very clear. You have to write to the party, convince, tell the party, then depart. Then somebody is with long robes and towels and wearing towels, meaning everything.
Is this the confusion that is being brought on board by the coalitions and the arrangements that we have today, that it even becomes hard for you to hold them to account? Because look at what happened before we got into this space. The UDA shifting gears after they have, some animosity within them as Jubilee Party, without by-elections, without anything. And they were on this side, someone is holding this space in Parliament and they are Jubilee, they have been elected on Jubilee ticket, but they are singing the songs of UDA. The confusion that comes along with this. And Dr. Matsanga has told me this before. Their biggest assignment is to deliver the presidency. Anything else in terms of representation will be fixed. I wonder how they would have fixed them.
Boss, spare me a second. She is quoting me and I'm going on the record that I told her. I told her that I, as a person, a friend of Azimio, my role is to make sure that Raila Amolo Odinga wins the vote.
And I asked you, representation is very important,
It is
Dr.
up to
Matsanga.
them.
You don't want
In
to
the
have a
party.
hung parliament.
No, hung parliament. Where is the parliament now?
Okay, let's allow
Where
Phillip
is
come
the
in.
parliament?
Let's
This
allow
man is
Phillip come
stealing-
in.
is
All right.
stealing people who are not even MPs.
Is it the people or it's him?
You see, I think that we've been talking here.
Yes.
Some of us, I think even Dr. Matsanga, Dr. Juma, I think, we need some political hygiene. He's talked about the Political Parties Act.
Yeah.
I think it talks about 6 months after formation. Then you're allowed to opt out. And there's a process. So to whether that process has been followed, only God knows. But the other thing also I talked about here, I know we slightly differed with my brother Juma.
Yeah.
And I said, probably now, political parties must believe in something. So that when you join, you sign a covenant. That this, yes, I believe it. I'm not joining this party because of my stomach.
Yeah.
I'm joining this party because I believe in the party. And this is what the party stands for.
Yeah.
And I say maybe go in the future, we need to be careful with the number of political parties that are being formed. Some of them are formed as a vehicle to getting to where an individual wants to get to. And there are many. There are many that have been formed. And they are formed on quicksand, weak sand.
Yeah.
They have not even been sworn in as members of whatever county assembly or senate or members of the national parliament, and they're already all over. These are worse than commercial sex workers. They're actually worse. All right? I mean, sorry for saying this on air, but that is it. And Phillip Kisia, son of Grace, says things as they are.
Yes. My assumption is
as
that they have not closed shops.
They
have not closed their parties. They just...
No. These people have no principles. They have no spine. They have nothing. They have zero. And that is why they are easily manipulated and bought, like Sukuma Wiki, from the supermarket. I mean, it's a shame. They need to be reminded. They need to be reminded. And I'm talking in general. That when you are elected because you've signed a social contract.
Yeah, with the people.
And you promised that allow me to represent you in Parliament using this particular vehicle. Be it UDA, be it Azimio, be it whatever, or KANU. Okay? But don't lie to people because you're lying. And I think if you're getting into Parliament fraudulently, you need to be put to check. Because you've lied to people, you need to be taken back to the ballot so that the people can decide whether to re-elect you via another vehicle.
Okay.
But don't use fraudulent ways and means of getting into Parliament, and then the people who have entrusted, because it is not your mother's office.
Yeah.
This is an office that you've been given in trust. People are donating the powers. They're saying, we cannot all be in the assembly, so we are sending you to represent us using this vehicle. Now, even before you get in a sworn, even before anything happens, even allow us to do an abracadabra, the Chebukati style. Allow us to do an abracadabra, please. Please, let us have some political hygiene. But, it's ridiculous the way people in this country behave. And what I can now confirm what Dr. Matsanga said, that most of those who vie for political office or any office, they are doing that not for servant leadership, but they are doing that because they want to go and protect their ill-gotten wealth, or they are going there to steal. Most of them are thieves.
Well put, Senior. We take a quick break and then we come back on that very note. I don't know why I'm almost convinced that this is making sense, because if I went to the ballot to elect you as an independent candidate, then before I know it, you have shifted gears. There has to be a question mark. Yes, after this break.
There's no independent.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
Maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Mount Kenya University takes pride in being an academic giant with some of the best infrastructure, imparting knowledge to the best brains in the country and the region. Our members of faculty are keen to deliver market-driven programs in science and humanities with a keen focus on linkages with relevant organizations. Join us today and train with the best to become the best. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
Fire.
Dimension, you got me in another time.
Nipo nyonyo, nipo titi.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent. I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates, but
Dr. David Matsanga, Senior Phillip Kisia is with us this morning, as well as Dr. Justus Juma, who joins us virtually. Party allegiance, and we understand that as a people, most of the times we have, voted for leaders based on the parties. We have voted for leaders based on the question of tribe. But mostly it's about, this region and the fact that they are aligned to, say, Jubilee Party, they are aligned to ODM Party. And therefore, Dr. Justus Juma, we have to appreciate and acknowledge that a majority of these leaders that have shifted gears or shifted allegiance, over the weekend, must have been voted perhaps based on that aspect of the party. Why would they want to assume that it's about them and confidently, without again the mandate of the people, shift to this other side? Is it because they always say it is cold when you're out of government? But how then do we say that they're out of government when they are already elected into the House?
Well, is a clear indication of ignorance, especially lack of understanding the office they're vied in, and even the foundation of the premise that they're vied on. Because constitutionally, an independent candidate is not allowed by the law to associate by any coalition or with any political party. And should that happen, they stand to lose their seat. So my understanding is that should they go in that direction, definitely the political parties register will crack the whip, and they stand to lose their seat, definitely, by the virtue of that association. And I think these are the things that we, as the defenders of the Constitution, we are going to uphold and make sure that the Constitution is not violated and respected.
Doctor,
and I think also.
Doctor, allow me to interject and ask this question, and I think I have mentioned it, before we went for break, that we witnessed the same, almost the same thing with the fallout of the Jubilee, the two factions that categorically, would even move into Parliament with their yellow attires to state that in as much as we have been elected, the Jubilee ticket, we are on this other side of UDM. And towards the last minutes, as we're about to have the Parliament, of course, go on recess, reality is that we saw new formations coming up. Even those ones that were pointing fingers at this faction of Tanga also shifted gears. For instance, the likes of Eseli Simiyu, who formed the DAP and moved from Ford Kenya, the party they were elected in, and to DAP. I mean, this was allowed to play out for quite a long time. What makes you think that this time around we will make the necessary adjustments to bring in order?
Constitutionally, this has never been right at all. And the fact that we had a registrar who did not crack the whip does not mean that we will have such oversight this time around. Mm-hmm. The effect of this, if not checked, means that we're going to end up with a National Assembly which is not effective, that is weakened. And any presidential, if you look at the presidential oath of office, and by this I'm looking at whether he's a presidential elect, and the constitution that the presidential oath mandates him to take on upholding and defending the Constitution. If we are, or you, they are the lead in breaking the same Constitution that they need to uphold, then again, my warning would be they should try anarchy, because in the absence of rule of law, mm-hmm. then you're going to have anarchy, and those are the chaos that have begun. And when they begin such chaos, especially with the key instruments of our Constitution, especially the organs of power like National Assembly, we begin on the premise of lawlessness, then again, I think it's a serious danger. Kenyans must be warned that this level of impunity is going to be worse than before. And we must nip this in the bud before it grows its own, because the Constitution envisages the arms of government that are effective. Mm-hmm. But if we are going to have National Assembly that is tumbocratically guided, not guided by the interests of the citizen, because, as you said, yes, those who voted in their MPs or their representatives through independent wanted it so. That is where they saw their interests being taken care of. Those who voted in specific political parties, they had faith in those political parties, and that is why they put the vote around those manifestos and those associations. So if we begin to betray the citizens who elected us, and I think this will be a clarion call for any political outfit to not send negative messages, because citizens are not asleep anymore. We will punish them at any given chance if one assumes that it is business as usual, that they are going to violate the Constitution in our watch. We will take them to court. We will make sure that they are brought to account. And I think this is why I also appreciate the constitutional provision, even as our other competitors are seeking redress today in the Supreme Court to seek to get political clarity on the electoral process, which I agree with them, because having been a participant in this electoral process, I tell you, mad with illegalities. It was mad with unconstitutionalism. It was mad by IEBC officials who were not honest, who were not professional in their duty. We find individuals who violently or adamantly actually choose in the daylight to pronounce the wrong candidate, whereas the candidate who won is clearly indicated by even the documents. I'm telling you, if the court orders the recount of these ballot boxes, you will be so surprised.
Is there time for that, really? Is there time for that?
Yes.
Would there be time for a retally or recount by the courts?
Yes.
Remember, we're talking about 14 days.
Yes.
And so after that, these 14 days is when now
what
that
the court
yes?
Actually 30.
Yes.
What the court can do is to order a retally, bring their own experts in court, in the Supreme Court, to look at certain aspects, like computer experts, not Chinchiri, not Davis Chinchiri.
Okay.
The one who in 2013 he did the same job. 2017, this time, and I was warning people to check on him. Until we checked on him, that's when things started changing. Not David Chinchiri to run around there. Bring experts who are going to look at the API, the journey the BVR has moved. Anybody who touched it, the API will show interface. It's called application processing interface. And then there are people who had their machines on Baker Street. You look for Baker Street. You don't look for Baker Street in London. Look for Baker Street in Africa. You will find a neighboring country where there was a headquarters. The headquarters, I don't want to mention the country, you find out, you are journalists. With many people deployed to tamper with this election.
Wait a minute, Dr. Matsanga.
Yes.
Wait a minute. And yes, as we speak on that, as you articulate that,
they will tally. They can order. There are two
Wakili Eric Theuri of LSK argues that logistically it will be impossible for the court to rule on retally because of the question of time. And also you understand how much...
That one I agree.
Yes.
That's why people who wanted to come in for amicus curiae to give the court, for example, the judges will not travel to Athens, where there was no printing press. But they found the paper in a warehouse. But the tender had been given. That is preparation. Wrong procurement process. You can't give 20 billion to a company in a kiosk in Greece, in Athens. There were no papers there. 2, the judges will not travel to Manila, Philippines, where the president of Philippines looked with a gun looking for smartmatics to kill them until they jumped on a boat and disappeared because they missed his elections. 3, they will not go to Abuja, where Nigerian Electoral Commission, the man was here himself telling us on TV that please, these mathematics are dangerous people. The Electoral Commission of Nigeria was talking to some of us. He said that group messed them in Nigeria. They had to stop. The Uganda election was stopped midway. By 10 o'clock, the chairman of the Electoral Commission said, no, remove those BVRs. Because someone was programming them from somewhere, and the things were not working. We went to manual. So, there are two words that I want to hear. And Dr. Orengo, please don't go to too many things. Don't go to story, please. Even these judges are human beings.
So what are these two things that would guarantee them?
Illegal tallying.
Okay.
Hear my words.
All right.
If they don't come.
Why illegal?
Illegal. I'm finishing.
Okay.
If you don't hear that word, call me.
Okay. Illegal tallying.
Illegal tallying and rerun.
What about a rerun? A declaration by the courts based on what?
To rerun. Because of the mathematics.
The illegal tallying. What if
illegal,
Chebukati...
wait. Illegal tallying, wrong mathematics.
What if Chebukati manages to prove that this was not
where? How can you prove? The form that Chebukati announced Ruto, the final form now that everybody has, even you who has not done mathematics to any level, like Sakaja who pretends to have done accurate, is it accurate what? Which zero people. Look, get your form and your calculator. The one Wafula Chebukati used to announce Ruto. The figures don't rhyme.
Hold it right there, and we'll come to that. And I mean, it's a hula baloo for many people.
They don't rhyme.
Senior. But then let's look at the question of the timelines that have been set. And I know we're running into the Supreme Court ruling pretty fast, while there are other things that we would have handled. But let me just ask this. Legal minds like Apollo Mboya, we understand how huge he is in the legal spectrum, argue that the timelines are pretty much kidogo to manage this question of, the petition.
Then we go to a constitutional crisis.
And we understand that the crafters of the constitution as well envisioned this, and they saw it necessary for us to perhaps, clear with such a case within the shortest time possible. Apollo Mboya argues that it's a huge task to mount presidential election petition within a short time, because of the question of resources, the question of manpower, and this then would require financial resources that are huge, and also mounting this evidence is something that cannot be done in such a short time. Could we then as well say that all the cases that have been presented to petition a presidential election perhaps have not received the just verdict because of the question of time?
I respect my friend Apollo.
Yeah.
He is my friend. And he is talking from a lawyer's perspective.
All right.
But let me talk from a management perspective and a political perspective, governance. You see, the cost of democracy is expensive.
Right.
When you talk about democracy, it's expensive. So it doesn't matter how much we spend in terms of resources to ensure that democracy has been achieved. I think that the end justifies the means. Because if you look at the amount of money, or rather resources that have been spent on this just concluded general elections, in terms of manpower, there are how many people deployed? How many? Hundreds of thousands?
Yes.
Of people?
Yeah.
Money, how much?
So much of it used.
Billions of shillings?
Billions of shillings, yes.
Minutes, how many minutes? Thousands of millions of minutes. Machinery, how many? Management information system. So there's a lot of resources that have been deployed to ensure that democracy is achieved and attained. So if we have to spend more, a bit of more resources to ensure that whoever is declared a winner is indeed the winner, and reflects the will of the people, so be it.
Okay.
But I think going into the future, we need to audit our electoral process and ask ourselves whether we are really efficient, effective, and running our electoral process in an economical manner, remembering that we are a third world country. Okay? Because spending all that amount of resources in a few days, I think is something that really needs to be interrogated. Okay? So, in fact, one of the things that I will interrogate very quickly is the issue of manpower. And this, I'm not talking about the people who are employed on short-term contracts. You know, that one also needs to be interrogated.
Right.
But what about the commissioners? Do we have people of integrity in that commission, the entire commission? Are they capable? Do they have the skills? Are they experienced? From where I sit, I think it's a disaster. I have been around for some time. God has been graceful. But I can tell you that the quality of some of the commissioners really puts the whole thing into doubt. You could see. I mean, you can tell, you can feel that there's a problem. So one of the things that we must now start asking ourselves, who qualifies to be appointed as a commissioner? I think the speckings are very poor. The specs are so poor, and that's why we've ended up with poor material, in my view.
And yes, and I mean,
Okay.
we look at these processes that, get
Forget
us
about
having
the
these
process.
commissions.
I'm talking about the manpower, the
Yes.
commission.
Yes.
We must be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, do they fit the bill?
They go
Do
through
they
the
actually fit the
parliament.
bill? And if they fit the,
serious vetting processes.
forget that is just a laundry, where
How better can it
where
get?
guys are clean.
How better
You
can
see,
it get?
Start with the specking. Let's start with the specs. Yeah, because if the specs are wrong, of course you get the wrong material. But if the specs are right, then you say, okay, fine, it doesn't matter, even if the political parties have an interest, even who has an interest. But for heaven's sake, this is the bare minimum. Please, this is the bare minimum.
Okay.
Give us this one. We know you have an interest, but give us this one, please, as a bare minimum. Don't bring us mediocrity in some of these sensitive offices. I think Kenya, well, I mean, we are not here for very long, but for the few years that are remaining, we want to see some of the things that are being done correctly.
Dr. Justus Juma, the IEBC, the formation, the commissioners, the processes that go into getting us these commissioners, and you would agree with me that it has taken a while before we got the new commissioners on board, and they had to go through an intense process. Was it not intense enough to guarantee us people that are worth the salt, and the indifference that is now evident between them? Does it then quash the integrity of the process that has just been concluded?
Well, IEBC commissioners have a procedure now to appoint them, and the challenge we're having currently is exactly the executive hand, because most of the political competitors have opted to populate IEBC with their friends and their relatives or their cronies. And I think these are some of the individuals who, at whatever cost, try to make sure that we don't have that institution functioning professionally. Because if you're looking at the budget allocation for IEBC as it stands, and the instruments that IEBC is having at hand, I tell you, IEBC could have delivered a more excellent election than what we are having. And again, the main issue may not even be with the commissioners alone. There are some managers there in IEBC who have overstayed their time. They were there since Kivuitu. They were there ever since. And and their thinking is as archaic as the days when they used to still votes for Moi era, and we still have Moi era managers in that commission as we stand. So I think yes, key audit needs to be done so that the commission is populated with professionals who merit their offices. But that notwithstanding, the legal process, and Apollo Moya is raising the issue on the timeline and whether it should be reviewed or whether it should be added. I know initially it was 7 days, which now actually was moved to 14 days. And considering the intensity of the case and the burden of proof for judges to turn election or to give a proper directive, yes, I agree with you, is intensive. But Apollo should not forget, even in the days of Moses, Moses used to have a judicial system where people could line up the whole day, and Jethro advised him, the best way for jurisprudence was to organize and let people have judges. You delegate. Actually, by then, Moses' judiciary had a judicial ratio where they were having 1 judge to 23 citizens. And it was very effective. Cases could be heard immediately. It didn't have to wait. They say justice delayed is justice denied. Even that 14 window period is enough anxiety, because it's not just 14 days, actually it's 21, because from the moment the election is, the presidential elect is declared, the petitioners are given 7 days to petition. Then within that, then we will also have respondents, and then we'll have a hearing period. It's even more than that. So when we are looking at the justice process, I think we should have simple justice mechanism. It doesn't always have to be complex. And that is why even in the election process, we envisage an election that is free, that is simple, that is efficient, that is credible, that is verifiable. Because we should be talking backwards from 4C 34 to 44 AA, and then you will be able, if the forms cannot vary. If the forms are varying, then yes, we have the next option of visiting the ballot, because we still have the ballots with us. So the process should not be that cumbersome, and there are mechanisms. Judiciary is well endowed, and even these political parties, as he is saying, ODM and Jubilee alone were receiving close to 1.3 billion from public coffers as a political parties fund. So we can say that they are broke entities that cannot afford this mechanism, but justice should also be efficient.
All right.
Justice should not be delayed.
Dr. Matsanga, before
because
we come
the delay
to
of justice can cause an anxiety, which can lead again to disruption in our economy, in our lifestyle generally.
And before we even look at the bigger picture of the lifestyle and everything, there are regions and there are areas, counties and constituencies that have not had their election, conducted. That is the constituency level as well as the gubernatorial level. And of course, that postponement that again was declared by the IEBC. Today is on the 22nd. The people of Kakamega and of course Mombasa should have been gone, should have gone for, or should at least the 23rd, that should be tomorrow, yeah? But then again, there was that postponement. Clearly, because of the indifference that is witnessed within the IEBC, because we need to have the commissioners speaking in one language for them to hold this very crucial process. Where does it place us, in as much as there's that argument or general argument that perhaps we haven't gotten the right people aboard? Philip.
Well, first of all, I think we have muted injustice to the people of Kakamega County and the Mombasa County, other constituencies and wards that have been affected.
No.
Because everybody was psychologically and mentally prepared for the general elections on the date as specified in the Constitution. And the reasons that have been advanced by the chairman of IEBC do not fall under force majeure. You know, these are not situations that could have been avoided. These are actually incidences and situations that should have been avoided if IEBC had capable leadership, if their planning was sound, you know. But unfortunately, because of structural and lack of managerial capacity within the commission, the elections in those particular areas have been postponed. I don't know to what extent that this will affect the people who have been affected in those counties and constituencies. But you can imagine the anxiety in those particular areas, that others already being represented, others already have representation, and other areas don't have. And then to make it worse, the chairman postponed the elections to 23rd of August. You see, this is where, when you fail to consult widely, when you fail to work as a team, these are the results. Disaster. You cannot, no, listen. He is the one who postponed the elections, single-handedly. It's in the public domain. The other commissioners, at least 4, have said they were never consulted. Again, there's a new date being set, or is going to be set, without stakeholders' involvement. But I was speaking to my friend, my very good friend, Honorable Ayub Savula, early this morning, and he did indicate that I have been called for a meeting. This is what should have happened. That you call the stakeholders, you call the people affected, together with your team, you sit down and say, okay, listen, we are all Kenyans. This is the challenge that we are facing. It is not because of our fault, but now that we find ourselves in this situation, can we now develop a way forward together? So that it's not seen as a one-man show. But you see, when you move as if the entire process belongs to you alone, and you forget that you only do it, doing whatever you're doing on behalf of the people of this republic, I think is a sad state of affairs.
All right, and let's talk about the chairperson of IEBC, of course, the CEO as well, and the heads within this commission. One would want to argue that perhaps we need to point fingers at all the commissioners, but does it not paint a bad picture of Chebukati, or then his integrity or capability as the head? Can it not be questioned when you look at the fact that a majority of the commissioners have walked away on him? Let's talk about the Paul Kurgat team, the Margaret Mochana, yes, and Consolata Maina, the Akombes, right, who decided to say that, you know what, we are going to exit because we do not have confidence in how the activities are being managed, and they decide to resign. That is phase one. Then these other ones come in, and on the very actual day, historic day of the nation, they decide to get into a different direction and say that they're not going to take part in what it is that the chairperson is declaring. What does it speak of the leadership of Chebukati?
Very bad leadership skills. I've investigated IEBC for...
He could be the problem?
Yes. Is the biggest problem is Wafula Chebukati.
But why?
He's self-centered. He's like a King Mumia. Mumia of the Mumias... what is that?
Nabongo Mumia.
Nabongo was very stubborn today. You know, the Luya community, we are very stubborn people, including me. Because I'm a Luya. I don't want to say him. We are very stubborn, and we operate like a paramount chiefs. So what Chebukati has done, he has carried his paramount chieftainess from his house in Webuye or Sirisa up to here. Now he controls the IEBC. I found him, this younger man Wafula. He's not only the bald head he has, but he's not old. He's very young. I found him in one of the hotels, I don't want to mention, and I put him in a corner. And Wafula, you are watching me. You remember the words I told you? I sat you in a corner in the lobby of the hotel. And I warned you that you are an editor. You are my cousin. And I told him, Wabukala and Matsanga, we come from the same place. You are my cousin. What are you doing? Some of the things are being brought by you.
Is it him or the powers accorded to him by the Constitution?
I am telling you, it is him. The powers are very clear. Why do you bring a figure? Why do you disappear with constituencies, then come back 2 hours later and use your chief paramount tactics of chief of Luya community to summon the others? Sit down. We are going to see the president. This is the figure. The disagreement started there. From 8:27, 16 minutes past 8. 27 minutes past 8 and 16 seconds. The motokedi of Wafula left IEBC bombers, bidding farewell to his friends, and say, we meet at 11 in one of the hotels near the State House to go and meet His Excellency the President and the Chief Justice. Wafula disappeared. All those hours, no communication, and that is when the thing stopped. The meter stopped there. Then later on, he appears, we've already done exercise. Let's go. Let's get going. That is not how you manage an organization. He should have come back, and I told him that this will haunt you. If he says Matsanga never talked to me, I have already pulled the CCTV of the hotel. I will play it to Kenyans. I'm very bad in investigation. I will play it. And what he said, do you know what he said? He told me, you know, for me, I fear people who say, I. And I've told you so many times, Kisa, if you start I am Dr. Jets, Dr. Kisa, basic I run away from you.
He says this on basis of the Constitution.
He said he will declare and go away.
He says, I have the constitutional mandate to do this.
A constitutional mandate.
We come back to ask whether
it's not your house.
Is it him or is it the Constitution that accords this mandate
does
to
the
him?
Constitution tell you to announce figures that exceed to 1.25 million, which are not gazetted?
But at least the Constitution accepts that it is him that has the sole mandate to make this declaration.
Exactly.
Let's take a short break, Dr.
Not
Matsanga.
a sole mandate after what? Then why were these commissioners in the bombers?
We asked that after the show.
No, I'm asking you.
Let's take a short break and then we come back.
Let's take it.
All right.
I'm asking you, why are they in the bombers?
The home of untold stories.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent. I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast as we try and, decipher on the events of the general election from that moment of campaigns to this space where we speak of the actual days of voting, tallying, and now to where it is that we are. And Azimio One Kenya is set to deliver their petition, that is to the Supreme Court, waiting to see whether in favor of them, the Supreme Court will nullify that declaration by Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairperson, Monday, declaring Deputy President William Ruto as the president-elect in what they say should be null and void because the processes that were incorporated to make this declaration were not in order. In studio with me, Dr. David Nyekorach Matsanga. We also have Dr. Justus Juma, who joins us virtually, and also Mheshimiwa Phillip Kisia, who is with us. Dr. Matsanga, briefly on that matter, it is what the Constitution dictates. And Chebukati, in his announcement, begins by acknowledging the fact that this is a mandate bestowed upon him by the Constitution. Timelines to it, 7 days after Kenyans go to the polls. He was only left 1 day to make this declaration. Anything could have changed within this 1 day. And I mean, in his own wisdom, his own calculations, he says that it is Deputy President William Ruto. Why would you then accuse him of making him this, or of making this a one-man show?
Can you tell the people of Kenya how many back office computers he had?
I'd want to believe he will.
No, yes, how many?
He can only be the person to tell us that, yes?
There are only two words I told you. One, illegal tallying, which is going to be, and then a real one.
Okay.
Because Wafula might not even appear somewhere. He might be somewhere. He can't tell the world how many back office computers he had. He stopped the others to have access to the back office computer.
Is it?
Yes. They would have found all these anomalies. How do you gazette the total number of the registered votes, again, which is more than what the cast vote? The votes cast are less, and the number that you are declaring upon is more. Where did the people disappear? All the constituencies in Mount Kenya have anomalies. Can I tell you, the election of this country was lost and the one in the Bungoma County.
And we'll come to Bungoma County. I think I'm glad that you bring us to that point. Yes.
The 50 took, look at the 50. They did not tamper with the rest of these things. They tampered with two counties, that one and Mount Kenya.
So when you say won and lost in Bungoma County, what do you mean by won? Because then you also say that it's not
get the meaning.
All right, let's talk about Bungoma County.
How many cars were impounded with voters coming from where? From where?
Let's quickly shift gears from that.
Police is there.
Okay.
Police records are there. Wafula knows. But I'm telling you, you cannot gazette the figure which is you yourself, you have declared, which you have got on Form 34A, different. Form 34C is the final form before you arrive to Form 34D. He might be right, he could have been right, but all this, what he should have done after coming from the three back office computers, one in Baker Street, another one.
Matsanga, this information we are not privy to.
Please, I am now giving, it is going to come out. That was my amicus to save the judges. I'm going to publish it so that the judges also, you think judges don't read my way, they read.
And all the best to that.
On,
We
the,
will
on,
get to see
BBI,
whether-
on BBI,
Yeah.
Linda, they read my document. Well organized Shakespearean English. It's going to be there by 2 o'clock.
Let's wait and see.
Let them
Let's wait and
enjoy.
see. Dr. Matsanga.
He had 3 backup computers.
Yeah.
One in the back office, one outside the country, where he had to go to
Which should
consult.
not have been the case.
Yes. So, Mboya is correct. How will these judges travel there?
To make this...
It is correct. There is only one thing to do, 2 things. Illegal tallying and a rerun.
Well, let's
There
wait,
is no
and see. Dr.
upholding
Matsanga.
here.
All
There is no
right.
word. Don't mention it here on this. I will walk away.
That the Supreme Court will not uphold...
How? How?
Okay, hold
Even
it.
with a P1,
okay, Dr.
a P1
Matsanga,
primary,
Dr. Matsanga,
the
Dr.
primary
Matsanga.
one
You
child
see, the
can-
beauty of this is that we have such a short time.
Yes.
And so in 14 days, we are
Call
out
me,
there.
call me again.
I will do that.
Call me.
I will
In
do
fact,
that.
this time I'll come in a traditional skill to show you
Okay.
that
So-
that I am blessed by the mountain of Elgon to tell you the truth.
Okay, hold
I'm
it
not
right there.
like
Let's
a
take us back
Wetangula.
a bit. Let's take us back. And you mentioned Wetangula.
Yeah.
Again, he says that this election, whether a win or
You see,
lose,
is
was
the
happened
one-
in Bungoma.
yes.
Let's talk about the Mulembe people. And in this case, that we are particular to Moses Wetangula, as well as Musalia Mudavadi. Moses Wetangula, well, in the event that they will be lucky enough to form the next government, will be speaker from that declaration that was made over the weekend.
listen to the
We also
parliament.
know that, yes, Musalia
That
Mudavadi
parliament will
would
be
be
sold.
lucky
In
enough
fact, you keep
to...
the land title
Yeah.
of the parliament very far.
I mean, they have great
Let's
numbers.
be very
Let's give it
honest.
to them. Let's give it to them.
Okay.
That clearly the DP will owe them something, the 30% that he had mentioned. And do you think, in the, with the representation that they enjoy, the numbers that they have delivered, they deliver the 70% from Mulembe?
Linda, I'll answer your question because I said if. You've used the word if.
Yes.
Okay?
If at all they are lucky enough to form the next
so
government.
let me respond like this.
Yes.
That, in an election, you can even win with just 1 vote.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start from there.
And true, there's an
Just 1
MCA
vote.
who won
With
courtesy
only 1
of
vote.
1 vote, yes.
So nobody, in my view, regardless of what they promise to deliver,
Yeah.
and I like being honest, and sometimes I'm crucified for honesty. But at my age, I would rather you crucify me, because even if you crucify me, I know I'll go and meet my creator,
Yeah.
because I harm nobody. But the truth harms so many people, particularly in this country called Kenya. They don't like truth. So Moses Masika, whatever votes he delivered, assisted His Excellency William Samoei Ruto to get the number that he got.
Okay.
Whatever number he delivered. And I think he delivered quite a substantial number of votes.
265,000.
Yeah, it's a substantial number of votes. So you can imagine if that vote went to the other side, it would have made a huge difference. Okay? So for that, because it's a substantial vote that got you somewhere,
Yeah.
I think he deserves something. Whatever has been promised, he deserves it. He has earned it. He has earned it. But you remember, there was a time I read a statement on behalf, I was given a statement, my brother, Dr. Matsanga, because he's a lawyer. I read a statement on behalf of the Luo nation. On behalf, it was not my statement. And I was told, read this statement because we think we are not being treated fairly.
Fair. Okay.
That one Timothy Wanyonyi, and I know people don't like going back to that issue, but it's important because in history you record what happened. In management, you ask yourself, why did it happen?
Yes.
And in history and in theology, you don't punish.
Yes.
In management,
You punish.
we punish you.
Yes. Theology, you forgive.
In management,
you forgive some.
in management, in management,
is forgiven.
Okay.
You know, in management, we say we must hold you to account. Yeah, we must put you on the chopping board. There's no way to about it. This is what you agreed to deliver, you didn't deliver.
Right.
So I said that by creating this perception that my brother Nani Tim has been denied this opportunity to serve in the position that he wanted to serve the people of Nairobi, will have a negative effect in the community. It has come to pass. Okay? It has come to pass. Sawa sawa? Now, let us now look at my other brother, the son of Hannah, my brother.
Musalia Mudavadi.
Musalia Mudavadi.
Yes.
Musalia Mudavadi brought value to that table.
Where?
Yes. No. Yeah, I'm on the floor. He brought value. The value that he brought, you know, in terms of marketability, sometimes you can have a product that is 50-50. But if you want it to cross that 50%, that 50 mark, you are scoring a C. You want to get to a B plus. You must do some repair work. So in my view, Musalia sanitized that group.
Okay.
You know, he brought some political hygiene because you know Musalia is a gentleman. He is not a guy who he's very measured in the way he talks.
Yeah.
He is not overly aggressive. And he's, he's a very good manager. I've worked with him.
Right.
So I think probably we should not be looking at the votes in actual numbers that he delivered, but sanitizing you. You know, he gave you a coat of paint when you needed one.
Yeah.
You are looking rusty. He removed the rust. You know, you are too, you know, there was full of rust.
Why can't you be brutal and say move the rust from Ruto?
He moved, you know, for that reason.
Yes.
No, for the entire package.
We all know.
For that, no. For that reason, reason, he deserves better, I think, in my personal view.
Yeah.
That is serious value that you brought on the table. Okay? You know, that you now had a product to send into the market that was marketable. Because if you had sent a product into the market that was not marketable, you would have had challenges marketing that product.
Yeah.
He deserves better. He deserves more than they had been promised, in my view.
All right, Dr. Justus Juma, and sometimes I find it very difficult to engage you in such because you also have your own interest and your own party, but I will all the same because, you know, we pick lessons from the other parties forging forward. And so the question here is, what is in it for the Mulembe Nation in the event that it's a Kenya Kwanza government? One of the main reasons we've had pundits argue that Azimio might have lost this is because they let go or they allowed for Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula to get, you know, to this other direction. And therefore, it means that evidently they have something that they bring onto the table. And based on the numbers that we've witnessed and the analysis that has been presented by Phillip Kisia, it is clear that they then present something on the table. Do you suppose they are going to be lucky enough to deliver for this particular region? Because hugely it's about what is it that you bring to your people as a leader?
May I put it in the context of a coalition government power sharing structure? Because the context of how you are framing the question is a bit of an ethnic balkanized reward.
Which is where we are, and it's the most unfortunate thing because, I mean, even before the campaigns, you had most of these leaders saying that they go back to their people and they say, I want to go there, I want to form a party, I want to be able to negotiate on on behalf of our people. Who is it that is going to offer the mountain better, in terms of bargain and all that? And so we might not find it easy to run away from that.
Well, that's the dilemma because the Constitution has a provision for power sharing in a coalition government. And the coalition document is submitted to the Registrar of Political Parties within the gazetted period. And that coalition agreement states categorically the power sharing structure for all the coalition partners. And to that effect, it's all about application or implementation of the coalition agreement. If there's a coalition agreement that states that you need to deliver 70% for you to get this, then that would be a different challenge or question altogether. But I would be hesitant to keep oiling or lubricating the ethnic balkanization of our political, democratic system, because these are the challenges which have been, taking away the merit and value-based and ideology-driven political democratic environment, and then the challenges of or ethnically balkanized political democratic system. It stands to entrench populism and personalism, which actually are the adverse of functional institutions, and to that effect, that affects economic development or economic growth of any given country. If we want to have effective economic development, then we must, by all means, steer off ethnic balkanization and tribalized democratic process, because that is a serious enemy of economic growth. And as you put it, the only merit of the foundation that one can look at that proposal can only be within the political parties' coalition power sharing structure, which is a public document. And I agree with you, is an information that all of us should be privy to. And we are waiting to see how every winning faction are going to implement their coalition. That's the pre-election coalition agreement. We may also have post-election coalitions, which will also be deposited with the register. And I think that is a more concrete guideline for now to scrutinize how various political outfits share their power.
All right, and in a mission to perhaps weaken the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who, in the event that the courts, uphold, and I know you have warned me from using this, but I will use it all the same. In the event that they uphold this win by Deputy President William Ruto, then it looks like he's in a mission to weaken the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's.
Yeah, we are heading to more days.
Okay, well, here we are, and
we are killing all the parties by the people. That's what Moi is.
And I mean, they are targeting. Yes,
that's what
at least from what it is that we
to
see,
do.
they are targeting Kalonzo Musyoka,
yes,
who also has showcased his might in this region of Ukambani. And therefore, if they successfully do it, what is left?
Then let's declare Kenya a one-party state. Why don't you declare Kenya?
There's not going to be an opposition.
Because if you are going to raid, if you are showing your colors on how you are going to lead the people of Kenya. I bet when there is a second vote here, if there's a rerun here,
it's going to be an outright.
Now this time, Kenyans have known who. He has given them a test. In these few,
you think it's not going to strengthen his bid?
In these 2 weeks, Ruto has given us what he's going to be. So if for you are waiting for mawingu itoke wapi, nimeshaona mawingu.
So if there's a rerun, don't you think that this is going to strengthen his bid?
Now people, especially, there will be the lowest voter turnout. And
you think?
Yes, people have now known. The pain. You have noticed that the people in Kenya are silent. And they have now beginning to see who the person who is going to come. A few weeks ago, he was saying, when we take power, one was saying, I'll take my house. I want my money to build my house. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to Kiambu, as if God has been centered in Kiambu.
No, he says he appreciates the fact that he got lots of votes in comparison to his home.
You are not his advocate.
I'm just reporting what it is that he said.
Is God not in Sungoi? There's God in Sungoi.
But he says, I'm here to appreciate.
That church in Sungoi needs Ruto to pray there. He has disadvantaged Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, my friend, for a long time. Let him now also pray there so that people can feel some of his prayers.
Does it disgruntle you that he enjoys
I
so
am
much
not
support?
disgruntled.
I mean, and he
Enjoys
looks at the
it.
numbers, he weighs the numbers, he says,
Through
Kiambu has
Machiavelli.
afforded me more numbers than my very own home. It is only fair.
Machiavellian politics took place where you go and blackmail Linda Alera.
Does it matter the style or the end?
It matters.
Does it?
In what?
In politics?
In his department of clean politics, integrity. It matters. Why should I go and attack Linda in order to wear her shoes? Why don't I work for my shoes? Okay. Ruto has got that politics of compensationalism. My father did not buy me shoes. I was without shoes. And therefore I'm sitting on the table with who? The children who had shoes. Okay. Some of us walked 10 miles. Some of us had jiggers. Don't tell me a jigger never bite you.
It did.
It did. There's no African person who struggled in the 60s, 70s, 60s. I went to primary school in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And the jiggers used to be a very dangerous thing, especially in the soil terrain where I come from. Yeah. So they used to bite. But do we come here and tell people how jiggers and why we are here? I didn't know that I could even be in London and pay the Majesty Queen the tax. I'm paying her the tax, which Ruto will go fly there to borrow. I didn't know. But that is what it is. The politics of compensation is in the Omutima, that heart of poverty of faith.
That appears to really entice the masses.
Yes, because the masses are gullible.
Because the masses can relate or they are gullible?
Are corrupt. You see the MPs that they ran, we are only this way, but we liked you. Is that what you call democracy? Kenya is moving towards good democracy. Then you say, I was here. You are aware that I am Dr. Mandela governor. I was only here, but I liked you. What?
But who wants to be in the court, including the churches themselves? Yes. And we have seen the clergy calling upon Kalonzo to shift gears to this other side.
I finish.
Can we take a short break first?
My bishop of ASK, yes, Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK. Bishop, you come to a place to pray where there is a murder scene. And he said, this is the day we have been waiting for.
What much can they do about Dr. Matsanga?
I have been an assistant for 32 years in Anglican Church in London. I'm a member of that synod. Mm-hmm. I go for meetings, but I've never seen bishops behave the way some of the clergy are behaving here. I collect that money. Okay. You see, I touch that money. Maybe that's why God has spared me. Mm-hmm. When this money is all collected in pounds, not shillings, pounds, they come to me, I stand in front, the black guy, the whites bring the money, then catch it and smell it, then take it to the priest. But Dr. I've never seen such a priest. Your priest is here, worry me.
Let's take a short break and then we come back to speak about the church.
Yes.
Untold stories.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. Farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and this should be the last laps of this first segment of Morning Cafe as we decipher on the political scenario right here in the country and await for that moment where the Azimio One Kenya Alliance then will be presenting their papers, that is in terms of the petition that they set aboard to challenge that declaration by the chairperson of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, declaring Deputy President William Ruto the president-elect. According to them, they should be considered null and void because the right procedures were not followed. Whether they have a case or not is a question of wait and see, as the 7 judges at the Supreme Court await to deliberate on this. And with me in studio, Dr. Matsanga. We also have Mheshimiwa Phillip Kisia, as well as Dr. Justus Juma, as we try to unpack this and many other things that are playing out in the political scene, the church and the politics. And over the weekend as well, we have seen them, hugely involved in this conversation. We really cannot separate the two because it is the church that is supposed to bring in the sanity, oversee the activities of the politicians and also the aspect of governance. And we have seen them so instrumental in making sure that nations stand. DRC Congo, for instance, is not in the best of shape, but we also acknowledge the contribution of the church in making sure that at least there's some level of sanity. When Kabila really was trying to play hard in terms of exiting, the church was instrumental in coercing him to accord a proper transition. And true to it, we witnessed the transition and the nation struggles to gain stability. And so if we come back to the country, and looking at the fact that, yes, Deputy President William Ruto, President-elect, proceeded to Kiambu and in church to also appreciate and tell them thank you for, hugely supporting him and his bid, and numerous other spaces where we have witnessed also church leaders calling upon Kalonzo Musyoka to now shift gears to join the winning team, and many others, contributing to this. We have seen the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka himself, and as well Martha Karua having that session with the churches, prayer moments and all that. Wahiga More, who wore the cap of, a church leader as he was trying to woo the Kenyans to support him, also has categorically taken position and says it is Deputy President William Ruto that I support. What do you make of the contribution of the church and the involvement? Philip, before we come to you, Dr. Justus.
Linda, you've asked me a very difficult question.
Why difficult? And I've tried so much to build on it.
Because I am a descendant of somebody called Daudi Lungao, the founder of the Quakers in East Africa.
And it's huge.
In East Africa. So I don't want him to turn in the grave. My great-grandfather, Daudi Lungao, started the Quaker church together with the Americans from America in the early 1900s. So I'll be constrained because I have a lot of respect for religious leaders. But having said that, I will comment, but in a very measured way because of my late great-grandfather. Okay? I don't want him to turn in the graves. Okay? The religious leaders, just like a bank, they are the last point of resort. It should be the last. Because beyond the religious leaders, the other only person that you can go to is God now. Because between God, the Almighty, our Creator, and ourselves, that's the cushion. So if you remove that cushion, then we then go direct.
Okay.
But we are always encouraged to go through our religious leaders for guidance.
Yeah.
So they as an habitat, we expect them to be as neutral as possible, but remembering that they are human beings. You know, when I was growing up, and I thank my late mother, she made sure that I always visited the village. You know, with a lot of, on a lighter note, they would come, the pastor would come and pray for the family. And we were told, when you see the pastor throwing the tie over his shoulder, it means that you've done a good job in terms of feeding. But when the tie was left at the same position as it came in, then you've done a poor job.
Right.
So I'm just praying and hoping that the religious leaders in this country will remain neutral. Because when the two forces disagree completely and are at the verge of collapse, and maybe to the point where the country is at a breaking point, the church then comes in. Now, they should not give any of the side an opportunity to say, no, wait, we cannot come to you because you're conflicted.
Right.
Yeah? They should not give an iota of doubt in anybody. So let them continue remaining as neutral as possible. Let them be measured in what they say. Let them be careful. We know at the end of the day they're human beings. We know at the end of the day they support one group or the other. But let them not display that in public. Because this country can go to dogs. It has gone to dogs before. Those of you who were there in 2007, we do not want a repeat of that scenario ever again in this country because of an office. Because of an office. And if these people are magnanimous, and I'm on record having said that I'm hoping, and I see that's the position, that if the courts pronounce themselves in another few days, and for whatever reason decisions are made, we must accept the decisions that will be made by the Supreme Court of Kenya, whichever way it goes. Let us not bring any other tactic that will destroy this country. Because blood on your hands will never leave. It will follow you generation to generation. It will punish you. You will never be able to enjoy what you have. You'll be walking naked in this country a few years from now like a madman or mad woman. So please, spare yourself, because if it doesn't catch up with you and you start walking like a madman at the age of 80, it will catch up with your children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. So my appeal, really, to the people in the cloth, the ones who put on the cloth, that we look upon you for guidance, for prayers. We look upon you to hold this country together, even after the Supreme Court ruling. You know, this country is divided into two, and that's very dangerous. We're actually replaying the 2007 situation, where it's almost a 50-50. Okay, the other one has slightly more, but this one has equal strength.
Right.
You can imagine, and I talk to people. Some people are hurting, and they're really hurting. Those people need prayers from the men and women in cloth. They're hurting. There are those who are celebrating. Those also need prayers so that they don't rub the people who are hurting in their eyes and in the wrong places.
Well, this is contrary to what we say today. There's that desire, there's that need, there's what appears to be the right way. But such is not what is playing. Dr. Justus Juma, the men in cloth, really have disappointed the masses in terms of how they have engaged in the talk of politics?
Thank you, Linda. Today you are passing me, at least you're back.
I'm sorry.
Now I've noticed outside, I'll be coming to the studio.
Thank you.
But that notwithstanding, spirituality is a human embodiment which, if not satisfied, can lead to serious deficiency that is not satiable. And spirituality actually is very key, and that's the role various religious organizations are playing within the human society, and it's not a new thing. In world reforms and in world revolutions, key or at the center of all the revolutionary reforms, you'll always find a preacher man or a strong religious leader. If you just visit US the other day, talk of the Puritan movements, they were Christians, religious leaders who established USA. And if you visit the monarch, the Queen with the House of Lords, their foundation, because British does not have a written constitution. And if you follow closely, you realize even them, they still rule themselves using the King James authorization, which was the foundation of the establishment. You look at the Muslim on the other side, even Iran, and in the leadership, you find religion or spirituality is at the core of their value system. Go to Israel today, and then various reforms or even activism that have been very effective. You talk of Martin Luther, the king of US. He was a preacher man. Malcolm X, he was a preacher man. And then Gandhi. These guys have been informed or driven by a very strong spiritual foundation that stands to date. And that's why spirituality is one core tenet that within our human society, if not established correctly, may also lead to serious abuse and serious vulnerability that a rogue politician can manipulate at any given time. One key premise that Justice and Freedom Party was campaigning in was to restore our moral stock, bringing back proper character formation or our moral hygiene, which actually has been an endemic species. Because when you talk about trust and politics, it's been very difficult. People quote a lot of Machiavellism, and you know the Aristotle's concept. And then sometimes when you look at the Marxists and the Machiavellians vis-a-vis the wisdom of Solomon, you realize that the wisdom of Solomon prevails, or the love and mercy of Jesus is not defeatable compared to these tactics of Machiavelli. And
we have lost Dr. Justus, and we'll be coming back to him for the same submissions. But in this process of petition, if at all, yes, then Azimio is going to make good their threat and successfully, send their petition to the Supreme Court. Then we pick lessons from the previous experiences, the numerous court battles after elections, and two things have come to the fore. And these are recommendations by individuals, some recommendations, some declarations, some, trying to interpret the law in the best way they know how. Wakili Donald Kipkorir brings on board this conversation and this argument and this debate as to what then the Supreme Court should do upon their declaration or after their declaration, after trying to look into the case that is presented by the Azimio, listening to all the sides, the Azimio side, the Kenya Kwanza side, the IEBC. And he says perhaps the court should proceed to declare the Right Honorable Raila Odinga in the event that there will be clear evidence that there were some discrepancies in the tallying and, in terms of the numbers. And therefore, if the numbers then would appear to have been in favor of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, as opposed to taking Kenyans through another electioneering process, which is what the Constitution dictates, that there could be an opening for the courts to make a declaration and save us that process. This could not be right in law. But don't you think it would have been wise, or it would be wise for us to consider that in future?
I think the law in Kenya is very clear that the lower courts can determine after the recount, they can declare the petitioner the candidate. But the Supreme Court, I have not seen any section that says the Supreme Court can, after the recount of the votes, it can declare the the winner from the Supreme Court contest, and they give him the certificate. The certificate is given by our chief, paramount chief from Sirisa, or where is he from? He's the only man.
He's your cousin?
He's my, the paramount chief. He's the only one, apparently. I think what Donald should have said, which is very brutal, which is for me, we just arrest Chebukati.
Is it?
Yes, and lock him, the 3 commissioners, go. Kenya has to deposit.
Well, if there will be valid reason for that.
This year, I should wait at the verdict door. As soon as the verdict goes, you know, you have to every time you Kenyans talk of Singapore or Singapore, we have to act somehow. You have really made you taxpayer, you people who have worked, who woke up at 3 a.m. you are awake, all of us, to come and pay tax. And the man makes you lose the money by bungling or a bungled election. Then he goes to enjoy the money with his wife.
We have the courts to declare that, Dr. Matsanga. We have the courts.
No, wait a bit. We have to change a bit.
All right.
Why Kagame has become very popular, that every conference you want to hold it in, is because he became a bit radical and locked his own brother in jail. Did you know that? And he went to visit him on visitation day, invited by the prison. Wafula Chebukati should not walk and smile and take his children to high schools when he has made the mess here. Either the court, the prayers that the Orengos should ask, and all lawyers will agree. This man has only 2 months or 3 months left. Let him go. If you want to, for you have some sympathy for him because maybe you go to the same church with him.
Maybe, just maybe.
Yeah, maybe. You have met him in church where he prays while looking for money somewhere.
Maybe, just maybe.
I don't.
Dr. Matsanga, this is something that is going through the legal process, and therefore we should respect that.
There's arrest. No. Time has come for arrest of people.
If there is reason enough.
Isn't it? If the court finds that you bungled this mathematics,
yes,
you declared Ruto on a wrong mathematical errors, and which you have got in government seal, you have gone to Gazette, you have taken quickly to the Gazette of the government to Gazette him, and then the court finds that these errors, all these 1.5 million people were missing from your own mathematics. In China, the bullets are ready. Copper, which we get from Kilembe and Zambia, manufactures bullets. Time has come for people to face it. 2, there is also a problem with people who move from one party to the other, like that woman who stood with Mr. Wajikoya and Mr. Agano. These are people who are bad in politics of Africa. You stand on your platform as a reverend who sees God every night and tell your children, be very humble. Why there is a one who works in some place.
Please do not go to that direction. Yes.
Be very humble, child. Then immediately before results are announced, you have said, I support the 5th Zakayo.
Is that not democracy? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Then why did you stand on democracy? Why did you stand on independent? Why didn't you go to
not
Ruto's
independent, Agano?
Why didn't he go to Ruto then? He should have joined with Ruto.
But in the event of a runoff, we would have expected for them to take sides.
Has the runoff been declared?
It has not been declared, yes. But upon realization that he does not enjoy the numbers, evidently, Linda, was it not the most noble thing to do? Dr. Matsanga, you keep saying,
we can't condone a crime. You can't.
How is that a crime?
It is already a crime. We haven't even gone far. You go and raid your friend's territory. Surely, you have not been sworn in as a president.
If he declared support for this other side, still would have been wrong?
Yes. Yes. Because nobody has. It is like a president of Africa congratulating Ruto As if he's the president. He's president.
Is that the reason why the president has been silent?
No, yes, because he has got good advice from strategists who read the subject of political science. You can't declare, you can't say, hey, this guy is under court. From today 2 p.m., he's under court. So let me ask Mr. Museveni, why did you write that letter? For who? What about tomorrow? Your Excellency, they will say he's no longer. Are you not ashamed? Are you not ashamed?
And the presidents really came out to congratulate.
It means Africa. Listen, it means Africa. We don't even know. His Excellency, the President of Uganda, does not know the Constitution of Kenya. Then why are we in East African community? Walai ya Mungu. Why?
Okay, good question.
At least there are 2 presidents in Africa whom I corrected. 2 of them, my great friends. One is well known, another one, I told them, just say, pending on, and they went back to clean their paperwork. But you write a full page as if you are writing what? You don't know. Write something when you know a constitution of Kenya. It means people who poke nose, who are very quick, they wanted this man to take power here.
All right, Dr. Matsanga.
That's it.
Okay, and I mean, you expect for your president, if elected, for him to have good relations with the other presidents, because that's when goodness comes back home.
President-elect is not the president.
Well, fair enough.
In communication, if I were His Excellency President Museveni, my comrade in Tanzania, the fighter, freedom fighter like me.
And Cyril Ramaphosa.
We escaped.
And Abiy Ahmed.
We escaped bullets together. Your Excellency.
Wait.
You should have got communication men who have English, who can tell you the Constitution of Republic of Kenya.
Hold it,
that
Dr.
The
Matsanga.
president will be declared on 5th of September.
Okay.
After the Supreme Court battles are over. Now, what will you do with this letter?
In the event
that the man you congratulated has gone into Indian Ocean in his hotel called Dolphin.
Valid questions right there. Also, Kamodo Waiganjo says that perhaps we should consider having the presidential election, conducted on its own, as opposed to holding this together with the other, aspects of leadership. What do you make of that?
I think I do agree with Wakili Waiganjo that probably moving into the future, there is need to separate so that we give full attention, all the energies to that very important office.
Yeah.
We dispense off with it, right? And then now get into other, elective offices. I think for manageability and efficiency, probably that is something that
it won't be extra expensive?
Is there a cost to democracy? But again...
Well, again, you started by saying that it should be.
When you're efficient, effective, economy comes in. Okay?
Yeah.
But when we're not efficient and effective, of course, the cost will increase. But just to pick on what... So, I mean, to answer your question, I do agree with Wakili Waiganjo. Those are some of the things that, in terms of continuous improvement that we can look at.
Yeah.
But again, in Africa, I think we advised by our elders that you allow the grave to dry before you take certain actions.
Yes.
So maybe the crafters of the messages could have done better, but I don't blame them because probably they're working on the assumption that we have an effective and efficient electoral body, and therefore their messages of congratulations could have been based on the information that was released by somebody mandated by the Constitution to read the results. So now, I was going to say this, and I want to deviate, and you must, sorry.
You're allowed.
Sorry,
we have the shortest time. Yes.
You see, law is law. I think if you look at the amendment that was done in 2011, I think rule number 24 something, which allowed, for a court of law Because law is law. You can't say that this law is applicable in the lower courts, but in the superior courts it's not applicable. Law is law.
Right.
So which allowed the courts at whatever level to count, or order for a recount, verification, and based on the results, declare whoever a winner. I'm not talking about the persons.
Okay.
I don't talk about persons here. Let's talk about the law. So you can declare an MCA as having won, validly won, after the exercise is redone, repeated, MP, senator, governor, or even president. So there's nothing wrong in that being done, at least according to how I've read the law.
Okay. And so this declaration would mean that Kenyans then are spared from another process of election?
No. Yeah, of course. If they follow that route,
okay,
then you're spared.
Yeah.
Assuming that the outcome is different,
right,
then you're spared. But again, let me say this, and this advice to, free advice, you know, from a governance perspective and leadership perspective. If you expect the citizens to respect the rule of law, to respect the Constitution, to abide by it, then don't act in impunity.
Okay.
You act in impunity, with a lot of impunity. Don't blame the citizens when they copy you.
Right.
Okay? So let us make sure that whatever we are doing
as leaders,
as those people have been bestowed the opportunity to provide leadership at any point in time, that you are governed by the rule of law.
Right.
And we operate within the Constitution. Because you cannot blame the citizens when they act the way you've acted.
Right.
Outside the law.
Yeah.
You can imagine
the
disaster that is likely to occur. And I can tell you, you know, I think our defense forces have how many thousand people? How many?
The ratio
a
really
few thousand,
is not, yes.
If, you know...
If the people decide to go berserk.
I mean, touch wood.
Yeah.
Touch wood. And we pray. And that's why I'm expecting the people of the cloth to pray for this country.
Yes. That's true.
That we don't get to a point where that the mass will say now, enough is enough. Yeah.
All right. Dr. Matsanga, let's allow Justus. We have to allow Justus because time
Justus will come in. Do you know the mistake that Chebukati has made?
But we need to close also.
One of the mistakes he has made, I'm sorry, Justus, a minute.
There's no minute.
He did not even give the Mr. Kachagwa a certificate. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no certificate.
That means Kachagwa is not elected.
Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
Hold it right there. Hold it.
Have you people in the whole country?
I think that's a Pandora's box that we might need
in the whole country known this.
Maybe it
is by law.
Okay. It is by law that the deputy
gives him his certificate.
Dr. Justus.
We don't have a deputy president. This guy, honestly.
Dr. Justus, as you sum it up for us in all those matters,
what it is that for closing.
Unfortunately, time is moving very fast. It's exactly 9. Yes, Dr. Justus, your parting shots, and in regards to what we have just. Yes. Dr. Justus, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much, Linda. With my fellow brothers this morning. And yes, the emphasis should be the rule of law. And this, to me, I think is a challenge that I'm directing to all my political fellow competitors, all the party leaders. Even whoever is going to assume the office will take an oath of the office. And the affirmation will be to protect and uphold the constitution or the rule of law. At the moment we are indicating that we are not following the rule of law, then definitely is a dangerous course that any aspiring political leader should desist from working in. And on the issue of the separation of electoral period, well, we've given proposals also even to extend the election period. It doesn't have to be one day, it doesn't have to be an event, it's a process. There are states with a 14-day election period, which actually make it very easy and actually is a very good contributor to effective voter turnout. But if we keep it as an event, it normally gets so constrained and with education and these other various life disciplines that we have, it becomes difficult. And those are the challenges that mostly have contributed to low voter turnout. And if we can adopt a proposal of expounding the voter period, and even if possible, separating the voting offices so that you don't have to vote the 6 offices immediately, because sometimes that 6-piece demand has compromised the quality of grassroots representation. We should isolate, if possible, then the grassroots representation to be independent so that citizens can choose for themselves the persons who they want to serve them. That way, whoever is coming into the office from these other, in the national front, can work with whoever the citizen have chosen, instead of the vice versa, where there've been this demand of the 6-piece at the expense of quality representation. And Linda, I hope I'm clear. And I know last time we left when I was making my point on the religious leaders' input
as you sum it up,
on the democratic activities currently. Yes, I have given it to the current religious leaders, but my caution has been we should also be cautious of religious leaders for hire, because honest leadership should be religious leadership who are active with the citizen, if possible, also active participant. And that's why I was giving the examples I was giving earlier. Those individuals champion human rights.
Again, we've lost Dr. Justus, but I think in favor of me because of the question of time. First submissions all accepted. But here we are, gentlemen, we have to close. We have to close. Today we shelve the...
We have done so well.
Thank you.
And we ask Kenyans to look at the constitution of how a presidential candidate is declared, and a man came running forgetting the certificate.
But then Gilbert reminds you that you should not make analysis on a very fixed mind.
It's not a fixed mind.
All right.
It is in the constitution.
Let's close, Dr.
It is
Matsanga.
in the constitution. Later that
you want some 30 seconds?
20 seconds.
Okay, now,
2017.
Let's allow him 30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Of course, thank you for inviting us once again. And I just want to remind Kenyans that loyalty to your country always and is a must.
That's true.
But loyalty to a government is when it deserves.
Right.
I'm just paraphrasing Mark Twain.
Well, fair enough. Thank you so much. I guess the best way to end it. All right. Last speaker.
The truth is
Mheshimiwa Phillip Kisia.
We are hated who speak the truth.
Dr. Matsanga, we have to close. Yes. Phillip Kisia, last speaker, former Nairobi town clerk, as well as a governance, management, and leadership expert, and Dr. Matsanga Nyekorach, Chairperson Pan African Forum, and as well as Dr. Justus Juma, who was joining us virtually, the head of Justice and Freedom Party. We close it at that point. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Trice School of Medical Health